There I am on a screen. Interesting.
Let
Hello.
me turn off the music.
Yep.
Right.
Cool.
Well, hi Josh. Welcome.
Welcome. I feel welcomed.
You can do your audio test and play your piano as the intro or whatever if that's what you want. You know it.
We could start with a little bit of.
Yeah.
Is that coming through at all?
It sounds good to me, even without a mic.
Good.
And you can listen to
it's
it.
just this thing actually that must be picking it up.
Oh right. Yeah, you have to have a sort of special thing to plug it in and stuff. But yeah, it sounds pretty good to me.
Thank you.
You're clearly a very talented young man. So
well, I do what I can. Thank you.
I'm very pleased to have you here. And obviously, I have heard of you before when you were on Paul van der Clay.
Now, there was some weird kerfuffle in the comments when people thought I had snubbed you when I hadn't even read your message yet. Did you notice that?
Well, they are quite malicious, many people.
And talking to Sonata and Josh, you may wish to amend that to talking to Sonata / Josh. I am the same person.
Okay, Sonata / Josh. Right.
You can go with that.
And how did you know Dot?
We met on the Bridges of Meaning Discord, the famous
right.
place where it all happens in the DLC.
I see.
I've actually been there years ago.
Banned from there, you know.
We're banned. Oh, I probably almost got banned once.
That's me. That's the story of my life, you know.
Yes. It's very Christian dominated at this point, one might say.
I know, and I've been, kind of given the treatment, but that's okay. I mean,
I'm sure there's a lot of very good-natured. Have you come to Jesus yet? Kind of conversations.
Well, no. I'm just, trying to say, look. I mean, it's really by talking to people who really hate your ideas and disagree with you that you get more and better ideas and how to keep it brief and to the point and today you guys just gave me the idea that Christianity is the equivalent of Chinese ancestor worship for Chinese people, because it's the ancient traditional religion, which of course China no longer holds because they're now cool and modern and Marxist, right? And it's like Mao made a point of throwing all Confucianism and all that old stuff out, and it seems that it's not really enough for Chinese people, and they want to go back to the old stuff. And
there she is. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and this, I think, is a cause of a lot of spiritual unease in so many people. Like, who am I? What should I be? And how should I fit in? And I remember in my adolescence something very painful. Hi, Dot.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yes. All right. So yes, I am. As you can see, I have changed my icon into the tech support icon. Yes, I am the worst at. Well, I am. I don't know. I am depressingly average at tech support. Let's put it that way.
That's okay. Yes. Now, Claire, you were onto something. Please continue.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm saying, most of us, because of the we're on the third global empire of those Christian imperialists now, and so everywhere, right? White people in Australia, down under, and God knows
the dread Christian nationalism. And in fact, there are now at least two dread Christian nationalisms. The left, the enthusiastically progressive dread Christian nationalism that wants to imitize the eschaton through the government state machine, right? And the traditionalist dread Christian nationalism that wants to return, but they're not sure. But they're not sure. But they're not. But nobody can agree on what exactly to return to.
because Christianity does not have codified principles, and that's why
Well, it
Christians.
depends on who you ask,
Well,
right? Because every denomination says surely if any denomination has the tradition as it was passed down from whomever, it has to be
so which is
us.
the winning denomination? I would say it's the Protestants because
Well,
of the term was white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. It was coined in America. America's the most powerful country. It doesn't think of itself as Catholic, and in fact, Catholicism is for kings, while Protestantism is part of the Whig interpretation of history. I don't know if that term is familiar with you.
It is.
Yes, that's the the complicated thing about the Whigs is that they are only progressive insofar as it gets to what they wanted,
That's quite arguable.
right? Like,
I just want to make the point.
hold on, please. May I finish my thought, or does Claire want the floor right now?
Well, I was trying to explain something to Josh about. I've forgotten what it was that I was trying to explain to you now. You asked me a question, and it wasn't Christian.
I'm afraid, Claire, that with us as your speaking partners, it will be a little wilder than a nice, polite British debate club.
Yes. If I'm sorry, I am a little bit scatterbrained, and I will free associate like crazy. This is why on my desktop, or maybe even right next to me, I will be writing notes frantically.
Okay, I'll let you talk, and I'll just post in the chat. I think that's easier because otherwise I'll just forget my thoughts.
Yes.
And
please, and do that anytime you feel that's better.
Yes.
Well, I think your audio is a bit low, Josh.
Oh, am I? Let me see.
I think compared to Dot's audio, your audio. I think the chat will confirm this. I think.
Yeah, because my parent, let's see, I come from a long family line of teachers, and I sang in choir, so I project my voice like a singer, through from my diaphragm, and then when I work myself up, I start getting very loud. And I'm trying not to be that higher energy, because apparently that mode scares the ever living bleep out of people.
Well, yes, I think maybe we can have the occasional silence so people can think to respond, to whatever was being said. And I think maybe many people feel uncomfortable with silences, but sometimes a silence is necessary to show that you have understood what the other person has said, rather than wait, just like waiting for the other person to finish so you can talk, which I kind of find frustrating, because what's the point?
You have
if nobody's really listening to what you're saying and just waiting for you to finish so they can talk.
And you remind me of a very fine British man that I met, who was a piano teacher that I went to for one very significant lesson, or maybe two, but one of them really stuck in my mind. And he was a bit British and aristocratic and liked to finish his sentences, and I was too boisterous for him in some ways. But certainly interesting things happened in that lesson. So perhaps we all will learn from each other, particularly patience in my case.
So yeah, so I am going to do a bit and play some identity cards, but as a joke. I hope you guys don't take it badly. So as an East Asian Florida woman, I have gotten stupid good at multitasking, where I can kind of listen through one ear, right, and take frantic notes with my hand, so that once the dead air hits, I take that dead air as permission, implicit permission to say, hey, I've been cooking for a while. Here is what popped out of my cooking. Right. And I understand, now now several years later, I understand that a lot of people don't like that because they want to have their word in, right? But I talk over people, I interrupt people, I get very loud and very excited when I'm in that mode. Am I too loud? Is chat being scared off by my enthusiastically loud voice?
Actually, I think I just might have fixed the volume thing. Is that sounding better, guys?
I think you're still quite low compared to Dot.
Really?
Yeah.
Are there any settings on your end that you can adjust? Because I think I've done all I can on mine.
No.
Let's see. I do not know if I have any settings over here that I can adjust, because I think the equalizer authority might be in the host.
Yes.
Maybe.
Let's see what I can do. Audio.
Advanced options. No, there is only
Audio
stereo.
Input. Show advanced options. I'm clicking on that. Stereo audio input. It's not clicked.
So who has the equalizer here? Because I do not know.
Okay, my options are audio, echo cancellation. That's on. Noise suppression. That's on. Stereo audio input. That's not
That
on.
wouldn't be relevant.
And then I have a high resolution audio. Maybe that's what I.
Would you really looking for something a bit like a mixing desk?
Okay.
Where you can adjust volume settings of different participants and something like that.
Okay, I don't think I have it. So anyway, carry on. Sorry to interrupt.
We can carry on. Again,
No
if I can
problem.
at least be made out, as in discerned, especially if I'm the only one talking. OCD.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
the danger is that you may be talked over because you're so quiet.
Yeah,
Okay.
you are literally sandwiched between two women right now. So
Okay.
that's going to be an interesting experience for you.
Let me see if I can do anything else. I'm pretty sure I'm at the limit of it, but let's see if there's one more step I can take. So,
Yeah, if it was just between the.
that change did not save. That might explain something.
Yes,
Whoa,
that seems to
here
have
you
made
are.
a difference.
That seems to have made a difference.
Whoa!
It's being very, very weird. Okay, why is it?
Now it's gone low again.
Yeah, no, it's doing that automatically. I shift it up and then it goes back down, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Okay.
Here comes a man bear. Hello.
I'm almost headset microphone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you do need to keep talking so that we can. We're gonna have to vibe a little bit simultaneously so that somebody can figure out the equalization.
Yeah. So what it's doing is it's adjusting my volume in real time to what it thinks it should be, but it's just too low. Oh goodness.
Yeah, it looks like you have to sit quite near it.
Yes.
Well, it's actually it's not really that. It's just that it's keeping on turning down the volume level in the very Windows settings. It's being a real bastard. Sorry, we're swearing.
No problem.
We'll just talk over you, Josh.
Oh God darn it! Wow,
that was better.
This
That
is
was
so
better.
silly. No, that's just me dragging up the setting and then it goes back down again. I drag it up to 100 and it goes back down to 62. It's extremely bothersome.
Yes.
It could be a problem with how my setup is interfacing with Restream. That is one theory here, right? But I'm going to try something odd.
Okay.
Let me try this.
Yeah,
Does this make a difference? Is it preferable?
Oh, okay. Oh, this chat is bottom to top. Interesting.
How about now? How about now? Yes, no, maybe, Claire?
Still a bit still a bit low.
May I provide atmosphere by humming the trivia theme from that trivia show with Alec Trebek?
Go on, and Josh can try and interrupt you or sing along or something.
Yes.
I'm so sorry we're getting caught up in this, guys.
So yes,
better?
make a will save, people. I'm going to sing. Do, 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 do. Do, do, do,
Stop changing. Why is it changing? Oh my goodness, this is absurd. It's literally just changing the volume setting right before my eyes, no matter what I do, to try and reduce it as I'm going. It's like, why are you doing this? What is even the setting that is causing this? Why would I ever want this to be why it works? They're so stupid. Fucking sorry. Bloody
Can you sing the Chinese national anthem, Dot?
Yeah, do the Chinese national anthem.
Wait,
That's what I want.
It's quite a good one.
which version do you want? Do you want the one from real China, or do you want the one from fake China?
Both. We want both.
Okay,
One in
let
order.
me see.
Each one in
Well,
order.
Well, I will do the one on my side of the pond first. Then let's see. Well, I don't know if I can sing it that high. Let's see. Do. Okay. I don't actually know the lyrics. I'm sorry. I can only sing the two. 三民主义吾党所统。
You might have fixed it. What's this?
That's
No,
so good.
it's changing. It's changing again. Why are you doing this? God damn it. I just look at the volume going down on the slider and it's like, why are you doing this? Claire, I'm so sorry. I am afraid I might have to give up on this because there's just nothing I can do.
Okay,
without, like,
so
really
Dot
digging
and
into
I
the
will
settings.
chat, and you can sort out your sound and join
I'll
us
do
in a
what I
bit.
can. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no, we look
You guys
forward to
talk.
your
You
return.
guys have a talk.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tech support, ladies and gentlemen.
You can take the floor now, Dot.
Yeah. So that was the Republic of China's national anthem, very stately, very hymnal, something about the 三民主义. So the principle of the people, right? Government of the people, by the people, and for the people, with Chinese characteristics. And this is the approved way of our party, and etc., etc., etc. Very, 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 very state machine, that kind of thing. So let me see let me try to remember what the other one is. Something like
The other one is the real Chinese.
the
It's
very
more upbeat.
Yes, the enthusiastic one that they borrow. It's basically the French Revolution with Chinese characteristics, or maybe the Marxist Revolution with Chinese characteristics. 起来，不愿做奴隶的人们。Something like that. I don't remember exactly because I didn't learn it.
Dun, 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 dun.
But yeah, it's something like, arise, people who no longer wish to be slaves. Right? So that kind of thing. It's telling the people, it's telling the lowest of the low to revolt against the high seats of power in the national anthem. Right? So it's like so this is that state machine made for its anthem, the revolution, the eternal revolution. So and then unfortunately we all know what happens to eternal revolution state machines now, thanks to several different revolutions.
Have you ever been to China?
I have not been to mainland China. I have only been to the Republic of China for various reasons. One of which is I am constitutionally, like in my meat sack constitution, very poor in constitution. I get motion sickness. I cannot drink second world water. I cannot eat second world food without getting sick. So, like, really ill, violently ill. So I can I can only very, very barely handle the food and drink of the Republic of China because that is my childhood. So I
How
am
about
willing to
now?
put up.
Any luck?
You
It's
are
still a
Sorry.
still
no.
very. You are
God
still
Still
damn
very
a
it.
no.
slightly cutting in and out the robot sounds.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Okay. I'm doing what I can here.
Yes. So unless you're willing to sound like a robot to the rest of us, keep adjusting. Healers
Okay.
adjust. Yes. So yes, the live stream raid is going on while our brave audio engineer adjusts like a boss. And none of us are tech bro enough to help this tech bro do the tech.
How about now?
Ooh.
No?
Much better.
Yes.
Oh,
Hello,
we
babe.
have something.
Ooh,
Okay.
hello,
Now
you.
that's messing
Alright.
with something dangerous, whatever it was.
So
It-
do you? Yeah, you sing. You said you sing tenor or bass
I kind of sing tenor and baritone, actually.
Yeah. So you are a baritone. Yes, you
Now
are very
it's
baritone.
automatically adjusting me a bit, but is this?
Mhm.
Oh, it keeps going. Now it's down to 29. Why are you doing this to me? It's gotten worse, hasn't it?
Tech
I didn't
support,
even
ladies and
untick the
gentlemen.
box. Okay, back to it. You two go. I'll try
Yes.
and bloody get this done.
Yeah. But I do know the Marseille because thanks to Casablanca, I know the Marseille. Right? Da 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 da. Right? It's about the French Revolution, about letting the blood of your enemies fill the furrows. Right?
I'm reminded now of what I was saying to Josh
Ah,
about identity,
mhm.
because as I was saying to Josh, we're not in the continent of our ancestors, and if we had to go back to where our ancestors came from, we probably wouldn't like it, or they wouldn't like us, and it would be kind of difficult, and so I guess I was trying to say that we must make the best of our circumstances and fit in as best we can with, our current identity and the group that we find ourselves in. And obviously, that would be our religious group or national group if you're thinking in terms of, location rather than morality.
Right.
And
And then
and then we just have to think about, well, be the best religion that would work for the group that we're in. And as I'm saying, that there is really a kind of minimum standard in that, all civilized people agree that it's there should be a law against murder, theft, rape, that kind of thing, and there should at least be, a court and legal system to enforce laws, and certain standards of, not animal rights, but not mistreating animals. The sort of minimum standards of decency kind of thing, which people are, I've noticed, can be a bit, vague and flexible about.
right. So
Wouldn't you agree?
well, if you would allow me to cut in now.
Please
So
do.
what yeah, so what I scribbled down frantically as you were talking is that you said that we have a duty to fit into where we are the best we can. Yes?
Unless we want to leave.
Right. Unless we are ready to go somewhere else or somebody else kicks us, as it were,
Hmm.
uh, somewhere else, right? We do not fit in very well
Hmm.
anywhere. Like this is the chief human condition, according to Christian theology. I'm sorry, this is the only flavor of theology I know right now off the top of my
No, I
head.
think it's pretty much
Okay.
universal.
Yes, it is pretty much universal, but let me tell you what what, because I can only quote my own Bible, what the Bible says about the state of living in this world is that this world is not our home, right? We effectively, played stupid games, And the stupid prize we won is we can't go home anymore. Not right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I want to disagree about that. And by the way, I'm testing my audio right now.
Yes. You are disagreeing about that particular message because you come from a different thing. All right. So if you don't mind, I wrote down a thing of notes here, and I'm sharing my notes. So if you can write down your notes and share your notes when I'm done with my notes. Okay. So this number one is this world is not our home because we played stupid games. We played stupid games such that if we stayed there in that having won that stupid prize, that would have produced utter hellishness. Okay, eternal conscious torment, hellfire that never stops burning, worms that never stop turning. And because that's the state machine we build when we play stupid games. We build a state machine that does not halt unless it halts and catches fire. Okay. And then and then you also said that every civilized people eventually discovers or rediscovers or receives as revelation, right, something resembling the Tao, the universal set of human moral values that every civilized people more or less recognize. Don't do this, don't do that, right? Don't do these bad things, all of these no's, and do these good things, all of these yeses, right? Some flavor of that, the no's and the yeses, right? And so we will make some kind of contract or covenant with either each other, right, the social contract, or with a god, right, the covenant with a god, right? We will make alliances with each other as states. Every kind of arrangement you can imagine. The agreement is always here is the set of rules we're going to follow, right? The no's and the yeses. All right. Now, as soon as we build that state machine, that is the beginning of at least a binary state machine, right? The Turing machine, and of course, every Turing machine that is going to have the halting problem. And because if we invent our own set of, we've defined, yeses and nos, right? And then and then all of our gates are going to process all of those yeses and nos in certain ways. Right. So I don't have you done any have you ever done any computer engineering before I go off on that tangent? Or
No, I haven't, I'm afraid. No.
do you mind me talking a little bit about electrical engineering gates?
I'd love to hear it. Please explain.
Okay, so I am a very, very beginning electrical engineer. So this is but I know from programming a little bit about gates. So one of the easiest gates. So here are the gates I understand. All right. The most uncomplicated gate you can make is one that is always open, right? So it's garbage in, garbage out. So it receives whatever input from the state machine, right, or from the world, and then it just repeats. It's a repeater. All it does is a repeat. Right? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, 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 no, 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 no. Whatever comes in through this garbage in, garbage out gate is garbage in and garbage out. Okay? But you need this because the inputs, right? You need to be able to read the state machine needs to read inputs from outside of itself, and it needs to give output from inside of itself. Okay. Hello.
Is it sounding better?
Yes, I am giving a speech about electrical engineering right now. And I just started with the garbage in, garbage out, input, output thing, where it's doing nothing but echoing. It's nothing but repeating or echoing what it heard from somewhere else, either from the state machine or from outside of the state machine. Is that correct?
All
Is
right,
that
that sounds
correct as
good.
far as electrical engineering goes?
I mean, that sounds more or less true to me. I mean, we get the same garbage in, garbage out phenomenon with AI in some ways. And by the way, I just
Yes.
needed to talk at length. The volume has stopped automatically adjusting. Do I sound good and clear?
Yes.
Thank God. It was quite a job to find it. The setting that I needed to change. It was actually in the browser because Restream is based in the browser. It was the browser automatically changing. So applications setting. Oh, look, you don't even want to know. But here I am.
Yes.
Tell me if you need any further adjustments because I actually can make those now.
I think it's still a bit low.
Okay,
I
sure.
think it's still a bit
that I
low
can
compared
change
to dot.
further.
All right.
That's fine, but it is better and it's
do we
sticking.
continue? Do we continue the trivium theme then? As
Please,
the
please
adjustment
carry on,
continues?
Dot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, the garbage in, garbage out gate, right? The I/O gate, as it were. That's uncomplicated input and uncomplicated output. All right. So that's something every system needs. Every state machine needs this, because otherwise nobody knows what's going on inside of the state machine, and nobody can interface with the state machine at all, right? So now you need to be able to process this information in ways that are human like. Well, now the state machine needs to process information. So cue a gate called OR, right? OR. In programming, this is usually 2 vertical pips. So what the OR gate does is it now takes 2 inputs and it compares them. And it says, are these the same? Okay. So, right, are these the same? And am I willing to live with the difference? So if it gets 2 identical outputs, right, it says yes, right? If it's 2, and then if it's 2 different inputs, it also says yes. The mathematician's yes, because it's a non-exclusive OR. So this OR gate always answers yes, no matter what.
Wouldn't that lead to problems?
Well, this is only one of the gates.
Okay.
So you have the gate that always says yes.
Okay.
Okay, so no matter what it gets, no matter what kind of input it gets, it compares 2 inputs and it always says yes. Yes, 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 yes. Right? 1 or 1 equals yes. 1 or 0 equals yes. 0 or 1 equals yes. 0 or 0 equals yes.
I think this may be a bit too difficult for my less intellectually endowed viewers and subscribers.
I feel that we have gone too far into computer programming. Whereas if I gather the spirit of your channel, Claire, you're more politics and spirituality, yes?
Well,
both. I'm happy to talk about both.
I mean, I think this has applicability to politics and spirituality. But if, I've only stopped at one of the gates. So right now we have input.
But OCD,
Yes?
OCD,
Yes?
my lovely, dear Asian tiger mother. Do you have any children?
No. Am I doing internet autismo right now?
Yes. Frankly,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
You are speaking at length beyond what is reasonable. Just to be like grab you and shake you.
Okay.
Please, because I've been absent, maybe I should come in, and maybe we should take a new tack. Because I feel we're 40 minutes in and we're yet to really get cooking, especially considering my audio problems. Which, Claire, do you like these levels? I can adjust it further.
Mm-hmm.
Can you make it just a little bit louder if you can?
Yes, indeed, I actually can.
Okay, so you're saying you want me to be in on the Restream. Yes, this is what I'm in right now. The studio.restream.io/EU-MLXC-
How's this?
EWD. So
is this
I
it?
am in.
Yes, that's what I was hoping for. So perfect. I think we're finally there. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry, everyone, for the saga. Now, I actually, do you know what this brings to mind? Spontaneously, miraculously, perhaps, is harmony. Now, there's concepts that I think that Claire has been talking about, like tradition and what are our principles, and like why call it this and that. Would you believe that these dilemmas show up all the time in harmony, musical harmony, but even more broadly, a metaphor of harmony when it comes to society? So I said something extremely bold at a Libertarian Party meeting recently, and I consider it not just a political matter, but also a spiritual matter. People are not equal. Equality means sameness. Mathematically taken, equality is really not descriptive of people. People like certain ideas that pertain to equality with regard to social fairness. There's something in that direction, I believe. But harmony is a much more real and appropriate way of organizing human affairs, and even perhaps spiritual affairs. What do we say to this?
Well, I mean, I am just enough of a musical nerd that I could also do an internet autismo all over music theory if you would like to hear me do that. But I will open with the line, "We live in a society."
Yes, the Joker.
Yes.
And harmony can be imposed and learned
Yes.
and
Yes.
understood
It can.
and appreciated.
Yes.
Harmony can also be improvised and planned.
Yes. So as you were saying things about harmony, if I may share the notes I scribbled down, I will try to do 3 points. Okay. Point 1 is, are we on 12-tone equal temperament tuning? Question 2, right? What is our reference key? Right, the A. Which version of A are we doing?
A440, for example. A440 hertz, for example.
Right. Number 3, what melody are we singing right now?
Okay, all granted. Now let's flip it on its head. In the Islamic tradition,
Yes.
they don't use those principles in the same way at all. I'm sure they have their own principles. Claire, do you know what I'm talking about? Sorry, Claire, did you catch that?
Could you repeat your question?
Of course. So OCD was listing out a bunch of harmonic ideas that are very Western, like Christendom Western almost. I was going to say that, as my understanding, Islamic music, which I take it you must have some interest in it, right? Or no?
I don't really know that much about Islamic music. I suppose
I have to make assumptions because sorry, I shouldn't speak over you.
But anyway, your point being,
well, if we're speaking about culture and spiritual differences, which I believe we kind of are, harmony is a sort of a grand idea that can unite and combine, and have things retain their character. Whereas, if we come at it from a strictly Western point of view, there actually are a lot of benefits from Western harmony. There are constructions, shall we say, that have been achieved with Western harmony that I don't feel are replicated anywhere, even though some people will talk about India and China as having some advanced harmonic things. And indeed, they might well have that. But honestly, gun to my head, I know the best stuff comes out of Europe. Sorry. But that's my own bias. What I'm getting at, though, is the harmonic concept. If it is loosened enough and understandable enough, can embrace all sorts of things. And I think spiritual harmony is a very valid concept. And yes, the metaphor of coming from music but being expressed between people and in relationships and in cultures is a very promising avenue. Now, one thing I suspect all people present take great issue with is the extreme left woke attitude to social organization, which is very strict at this point. Do we have some consensus there?
Well,
yes,
I
think children can get, when they hear music they like, and they can disharmony, cacophony, horrible noises. They, you don't need to be taught to appreciate one and distinguish, one from the other. It's
Yes,
pretty much
yes, that's very true.
Well,
And if you tell children things like, "Look, you're going to hell. The world is pain. It's all suffering all the way through," and stuff like that, they tend not to like those ideas either. Those are, if you will, cacophonous notions on a spiritual level, evil notions, one might even say.
well, it depends on the child.
It might, and their experiences up to that point. If you approach a
Yes.
child at a vulnerable moment with such messages, they might just embrace them.
Well, let's see. So here are some notes I scribbled down. Right, when you stand the Western musical tradition, what I wrote down is no other musical tradition produced Handel.
Or Bach, or
Or
Beethoven, or Tchaikovsky, and I could go on for a long time.
yes, that entire that entire vaulted hall of musical titans, right? And then yes, you can say that was because the West did a colonial imperialist project
No,
that
I could not
imposed.
even say that Western classical music really is a very colonial project, actually. It
Well,
was
I
very much
mean,
our own thing, arguably.
well, as soon as the West discovered how to export this music through technology, it started very aggressively exporting this technology everywhere.
That is true. That is true.
All the way through the entire Western musical tradition, starting from as far back as we have the music for it, we have been very aggressively exporting the music all over the place, especially on YouTube.
Well, the Western musical tradition, speaking of the classical tradition, which is actually my bread and butter, and the position I feel I can speak the best from, the world has embraced classical music and then forgotten about it. Like there's orchestras in all cities pretty much, but are they very popular? Not exactly.
Well, the mooks of day, they want to kill all of that because they think it's
They
white.
have issues.
It's white, imperialist, colonialist,
Yeah.
something or another.
And this ties into my harmony concept in that the great shall not be weighed down by the small. In other words, the DEI crowd tend often to try to elevate people beyond what they really are and bring down the great by, like, I don't know, having a go at how they treated their wife or something like that. Even though compositionally they may be truly, genuinely great, uncompromisingly so.
Right, and then of course all of the perfect pitch mad lads are screaming about how terrible 12-tone equal temperament tuning is, because
Perhaps.
and all of the very jazzy improvisational people, they want more microtonality. So
Maybe they do.
They're like, what about 24, right? What about 31?
What about we could be less specialized in our discourse? Just to,
of course. I wanted to expand it. Where do you want to specialize it to, Claire?
Yes.
Really, just topics that ordinary folk are capable of understanding.
Well, no, that's fair enough. So ordinary folk.
You're going to have to rein in my
very
internet
fed up in
autism.
my reading of the situation. Ordinary folk are very fed up with the world right now. I think that's fair to say. Do we agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't know what to do about it. So this is the challenge, which is, can ordinary folk understand new ideas that could lead them out of the current quagmire?
See, ordinary folk. Would ordinary folk understand
let Claire
C major
actually
chord?
City. Let Claire.
Yes.
I think the psychology is this: they want change, but they're afraid of change. So they veer from one extreme to the other. They want radical change, and then when you ask them, they say, "Oh no, I support the status quo. I support the political orthodoxy because I don't want to get into trouble with the government or hate speech or whatever." And so they can't decide on a particular course. And I'm saying religion is helpful because it helps you stick to your principles. So you have convictions, which are your, supposed religious beliefs. Because I think ultimately the most important thing is only when we feel that good will be rewarded and evil punished will we stick our necks out and make sacrifices for the group. But if we're just going to be mocked and called names and called extremists and insults ending in ist, we're not going to do it because we think we're going to fail because nobody's going to support us, and malicious people are going to call us names to lower our status and raise their own.
So in a sense, something that everyone can understand, although we feel the time has passed. I don't believe it has passed, but I want to follow on your point, Claire, which is we need heroes, in other words, to break that barrier of being called the ist and the phobe and being attacked by the state. And they stand and they win and they lead others onward to the next era of whatever it is that we're all after. Is that something of a response? Yeah.
That's right. So it's about narratives. And maybe less about facts and logic, because if you look around,
Yes,
it's
I
like,
tend to
well,
agree.
they've got me surrounded. There's only me, and they're all like that. So you don't think you're going to win, so you won't even try. And I think a lot of people think, because I don't try, because I know the force of the enemy against me, I will mock those who do. And call them stupid, to make myself, that this, crabs in a bucket idea that, they just want to spoil it for others as an assertion of their power. If I have no power to create, then I will have the power to destroy your life. And it's a kind of spiritual, political vandalism that people, nihilists, believe in engaging, because at least it makes them feel powerful, that they can.
And you find nihilists on the left and the right. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah. People who are even supposed to be on your side, who actually say they support the same cause as you.
There's also the wonderful opportunities around finding I don't want to say compromise, but the deeper truth that may unite the sincere elements of the left and the right. I hope we are mature enough to acknowledge that there are sincere elements on the left, even though, yeah. So my personal background, and I actually want to ask you a quick question, and then do you mind if I describe some stuff about me and my relationship to all of this?
Oh, please carry on.
So Claire, are you a political animal from a young age? Because I was.
Me too, because my memory was listening to my elders discuss politics on Sunday at my grandfather's house, and that was always what I seen people would do, and because I was in a way excluded because I didn't understand most of it, I wanted to understand it, and I noticed my father having these long conversations with his associates. So yeah.
So for me, it wasn't even family. It was more like I took to it as soon as I saw it. I was always interested in power and decisions and society and structure and all of it. Every story that I respond most deeply to often has a political element. Funnily enough, I mentioned StarCraft at one point, and there's an incredible story in StarCraft. Speaking of narratives, by the way, just come with me on this if you like. There's a story in StarCraft which is the first human campaign, which is all about the fall of an old empire called the Confederacy in this case, and the rising of a new called the Dominion. And it had all these funny little lessons in it that I, as a kid, found very absorbable in that format, right? Of a fun, strategy video game kind of thing. So one of the lessons was there really are people out there who will say lines like this: I will rule this sector or burn it to ashes around me. And men like that can win. And it's dangerous when they do.
Yes, because that is the toxic masculinity everybody's worried about.
You could say that. Now, there's also other things, like the extremists are sometimes the only people who can hold out. Again, a very funny little lesson in an early mission was that you're on a planet that's under siege by aliens, essentially, and you're trying to figure out, like, who do we work with here? We've got nothing. And then there's this thing of the only faction that's doing well is an extremist faction, a rebel faction. And then you start, as an adult, I think this stuff through. That makes sense. Extremists are committed. They have, as you say, Claire, conviction. And conviction matters. It is the stuff that gets you through the trenches. I feel I have rambled and ranted enough. I'd like to open the floor. Claire, do you have anything? Or OCD, if you want to jump in.
Okay, so I scribbled down two things this time, just two. Number one is poor Sonata, as a sweet summer child, ran face first into the will to power.
I love will to power.
Yeah. So and then when you said that, the Dominion, and then when you said something about the extremists, right? The little rebellion, the brave little underdog rebellion. I thought, oh no,
it turned into the Dominion.
against the Dominion. Yeah, the Dominion that arose from
No, the Confederacy was the falling empire. The extremists
Yes.
were called the Sons of Korhal. They had a bit of feud with the Confederacy, and they
Yes.
overturned the Confederacy and created the Dominion. That's the story.
Yeah, ooh, and then, sorry, I hear Confederacy and I think Civil War, but that's a different.
Yeah, but we're talking about
sidetrack.
the Space Confederacy. It's
Yes,
a whole other thing.
but yes, so these brave little underdog rebellious extremists, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, and then I thought, I know this playbook. It's called Rules for Rebels by Saul Alinsky.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so and then yes, Josh. Let's see, whoever this anti-OCD AI person is in chat who thinks that I am a robot girlfriend. Beep boop.
Take a look at chat now. I'm sorry.
I am Josh's robot girlfriend who Josh infected with all of the bigotry. Oh, you sweet, sweet summer child. I am an East Asian. Do you know how fucking bigoted East Asians are?
Sorry, my bigoted biases have infected his loudmouth robot lady. Could we please discuss with chat what this fellow means? Because I'm offended. I am bigoted, sir, but only for the good causes.
No, I do not want being a programmed robot girlfriend.
Maybe this guy is just joking, but honestly, how can we tell? It's text, mate. You got to make yourself clear.
You have to signal how friendly you are with some kind of emoticon now. I'm sorry, because otherwise Josh will perform, his script of defending a lady, and I am going to laugh in Josh's face because I have embraced being the programmed robot girlfriend today.
Claire, are you happy with this level of chaos, or are you enjoying yourself?
Yes.
Yes, I'm fine. I wanted to address your issue about dangerous people who might fool the sheeple because of their, plausibility, and how to, in a way, exclude these people from ever coming to power. And I'm saying there is a way, but only if your society is ordered in a certain way. Because in a patriarchy, the top dog, the alpha male leader, the top dog alpha male leader would have a wife who he would be married to, and he would also have adult children who are a credit to him. So anyone not fitting into that category would be immediately excluded. I mean, so it's only in a patriarchy that you can divide society into these categories. Because if you can imagine, let's say it's only a society of gay men. How are you going to use this rule of thumb to exclude, plausible liars and, potential abusers from getting near positions of power? You would have to, watch what they say and see what principles they hold and whether they follow their principles or not. And that, I think, is the role of religion. It's for you to say, yeah, we're all following these rules. Are you potential leader? Are you, my neighbor and my friend and my, family? And this is really the function of religion. And the most basic function of religion is the imposition of the eugenic practice of marriage. And it doesn't matter what race you are, because in order to keep your group going, you have to produce the young and parent them properly to hope that, they will become a functional member of society when they grow up.
Well, no, I will take issue with you here, Claire, because I think we have an interesting contention to discuss, and one that is understandable to ordinary people. I do not fit into the mold of the respectable man. I just don't.
Neither do I fit into we're dissidents. You were considered probably, if you don't like the thing, heretics, subversives, and dissidents, and that kind of thing.
Well, I actually know the dissident right quite well, and I think you do too. You know AA, for example. Mm-hmm. Something I noticed in your channel.
I spotted you as a member of the dissident right immediately.
Well, I was no, actually, I'm not. I'm a former member. I know the lingo. I know the ins and outs, but I am disillusioned.
Yeah,
And I'm
because
disillusioned on a personal level, not just an ideological level. They rejected me openly, repeatedly,
they're
because
always
they don't
taking
like where I'm
people
going.
out. They're
They
always
are,
taking,
indeed.
and they stab each other in the front and the back, and they have no
Oh, yes.
principles. They have no codes of behavior. And that, I think, is a problem, compared to, well, okay, I know Muslims and Jews do that to each other, but at least, it's
Yeah.
like, well, you're not supposed to do that. And if you do that, then, you lower yourself in status for being, not a paid up member of the group because you broke those rules, right?
The game of status, however, runs into problems. And I feel that of one of the interesting people who addresses this, if I might bring him up, is Jesus. So, again, I'm not a Jesus freak. I'm not of that type. I think you've gathered that. But Jesus did address issues of status in very direct and personal ways. Now, he himself is considered an incredibly clean individual, especially in retrospect. I might tug at the edges of that claim, but that's neither here nor there. What I'm trying to say is when you are perhaps, let's indulge the hypothetical, a great spiritual being incarnated on earth from humble beginnings, and perhaps you lead an incredibly moral life, but you are still from humble beginnings. You have all sorts of things about status that start to unfold in the course of your life and journey that don't conform to the nice. Is he married? Does he have kids who are a credit? Has he never done anything wrong? One interpretation of Jesus is this is a man going way beyond his station, going around telling people how to live. Do you see that interpretation, at least in theory?
Well, I know. I mean, I actually heard Richard Spencer say, Jesus died a sexist virgin loser.
I personally think that there is a point there. There is a point there, though Richard Spencer is being inelegant about it.
But
Go on.
I'm just trying to say that you have these categories as a rule of thumb. Of course, you shouldn't, just, automatically just exclude people. But even in that category of people, there may be, a group of men who fulfill that category. But at least you can just choose from them. You won't be choosing women. You won't be choosing gays, lunatics, or criminals, or under the age of, majority. You can then say, well, these people can't be the national leader, and this,
Why?
I think, is part of the structure of the patriarchy, which actually mirrors the organization of the military, because a military cannot be organized on egalitarian terms. Because, if somebody says, if it's an egalitarian military, if you can imagine such a thing, and somebody says, attack that fortress, and, the soldier,
In other words, that's arguing about whether they should.
attack it. Why don't you go and attack it and
No,
show
I
us
see
how
what you
it's
mean.
done?
Now, here's the problem. Here's one of the problems, and it's a big problem on the dissident right. They hated it in my instantiation, even though I think that's, well, look, it's a personal matter, but it's also a general question. What about someone with a dark backstory who has the right stuff at the right moment? What about someone with a dark background, like a very problematic history, who is the right man at the right time? Cometh the hour, cometh the man. I'm sure you know that phrase.
Well, you could say that of Hitler. He never
I
married.
was thinking of Hitler in some ways, yes.
Yeah. And the thing was, I guess he was saying, well, I don't want, my girlfriend who has become my wife bossing me around. So, I'm not going to marry her. But he kind of played it well enough to say, well, at least I made an honest woman. But,
In the end, are we talking about Ava Brown, yes?
Pardon?
We're talking about Ava Brown, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but at least he married her, and some people might think, well, he must have had so many things on his mind, but at least he remembered to marry her.
Well, Hitler, you're not supposed to say that word out loud, but you already have, so we'll just go with it. The man had a massive impact on the world. I do not actually believe it to be as pure evil as one is supposed to. I will stand on that hill and die on it because I am a universalist. You know what universalism is?
Well, I think different people have different idea of universalism. Perhaps you'll
Of
explain
course.
what yours is.
Well, my idea is fairly simple. It's everyone makes it to some form of continuation or salvation ultimately. Everyone, without exception. That is a form of idealism I understand to be a bit uncommon, but it is also my highest belief. And that requires things like redemption. It requires redemption beyond this life and within this life. One of the big problems with the dissident right, as again, we both know the dissident right. I'm sure we have different references to some degree, but we both know one of the problems, which was they could never settle on a real leader at all.
No,
An
because they
action
haven't
leader,
got a
as
big
opposed-
idea. I mean, even
No, the idea
nationalism
is not the problem.
argued about.
They've talked ideas to death. The dissident right is all about too many ideas. I think it was about time to choose. Or let people rise. Let people rise without cutting them down, for example.
But then, I mean, the whole idea is, I'm in charge of the party now, and
I'm
will
in charge of the party
any
now.
potential rival from ever rising. And if they, look like they're a threat, I'll find an excuse to kick them out.
Yes, well, that's a thing. Hitler is accused of that a great deal, and to some extent, that's necessary in political democracy stuff. You yourself have advocated for some level of exclusion and inclusion being a decision, friend-enemy distinction, and all of that. What I want to elaborate on is the idealism. And this is an odd concept, but I hope you can come with me. There is a form of dark idealism, the shadow work, the what goes into the abyss and comes back, and what has it changed and what has it learned. There are things you cannot know without experiencing and exploring the darkness inside and out. That is why I sometimes suggest this whole thing of like the man of the hour in some situations is not a pure man.
Well, only God is perfect, and
You could argue that.
and the Jews would actually agree, because they actually have a warts and all view of their prophets. So they don't say any of their prophets are perfect. It's like, oh, Moses didn't live to see the promised land. He must have been guilty of some sin. And oh, David, he coveted the wife of one of his generals. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they never say, oh, he was a perfect man. And even Muslims fall into that trap of saying Muhammad was a perfect man. It's like, no, you can't even allow this idea of infallibility.
If I may, one of the common jokes I've heard about Muhammad is that he would make up a sort of prophecy so that he could get a free ham sandwich or something like that. Like he would. That's a joke. It's somewhere in the Quran. His followers made fun of him for constantly saying that God was saying that he needed to do this, and it might have been him. That I'm just joking. But that is one funny thing that you could criticize Muhammad for. Too much speaking for God, if you will.
I really think all of us, we kind of make predictions so we can say, I told you so, told you not to do it.
That is true.
Yeah, so I don't think, it's particularly Mohammedan. But
No, true enough.
Because we're saying, we are wise. We foresaw the future because we're so clever. We used our deductive reasoning to anticipate problems, blah, blah, blah.
But this was a fantasy. Sorry, I thought you would appreciate the
older
reference.
people do that all the time. It's like,
of course.
It'll end in tears, your silly idea, blah, blah, blah. So, yes, elders is something that I think we've sort of lost sight of. It's sort of like elders, they're old and ugly and nobody wants to have sex with them and therefore they're irrelevant. That is the shallow culture of our cult of youth and beauty. And this will mean promoting youth and beauty and idolizing it, and we know how foolish and cruel young people can be.
Indeed. Where to go now in our conversation?
Well, really, all I'm saying is what I'm saying is respect for elders, the valuing of wisdom, it is something that will come, I think, to all advanced civilizations. They
Agreed.
think, oh, we have to record the wisdom of our elders, and then I suppose corruption enters. It's like, well, we're going to hide our mistakes from the people and give a different version of history, such as the crime of Holocaust denial. You would have thought that people in the Free West would be able to say, "Hey, there should be a crime of Holocaust denial because it's an infringement of our First Amendment." Something like that. Why did our grandfathers fight World War II for if we can't even learn from our own history, and why can't historians say the wrong number without being put in prison?
Yes.
And,
I
and
am
what
a bit
number?
familiar with
What
David
number
Irving,
is
so I know what you're
Holocaust
getting at.
denial? What number
What
is
number
Holocaust?
is? The numbers have been revised down without ever changing the 6 million figure. That is a commonly cited fact
Well, even
by certain
rabbis
people
have
on
got
the right side.
into trouble. Even rabbis get into trouble with that. And I think Benjamin Netanyahu also got into trouble over that. So it's kind of, you better watch it just talking about Zionism or Israel, because I think that the whole point is that Israel is actually a sacred imperial project of the Anglo-American Empire, because, obviously Israel is a colony. Because they need to be there
But
to
Israel
project power in the
is the
Middle
tail
East.
that wags the dog sometimes. Let's admit to that as well.
Sorry, what did you say?
Israel is the tail that wags the dog sometimes. We have to admit to that as well. AIPAC is not run in the interests of America, but it is
No.
an American political project.
But you see, all the Abrahamic religions have, a fetishization of Israel because, for Jews, it's our land, and for Christians and Muslims, it's like, well, we want to control it for, reasons of imperial prestige.
Yeah, that tends to end
And
poorly.
of course, to control international shipping and keeping an eye on the oil and the Arabs and blah, blah, blah. But those reasons are geopolitical, in my view.
Geopolitics. So we come to an interesting moment in world history in terms of geopolitics. Immense levels of tension, but not the full culmination of something as obvious as World War III.
I would say it's a global war of religion. And people don't want to, go there because it sounds really nasty. But I think, the best case scenario is that it is resolved in a civilized and calm way through the use of theological arguments.
I'm an optimist, but I don't think that's going to happen personally. But I believe it should happen to the best extent possible.
Well, okay, here's my here's my narrative. We are all cursed with World War III because we have not obeyed the laws of God. And even the Jews and Muslims, they don't follow their own rules, and that's why everything is in such a mess. And they're basically hypocrites. I think a lot of people are, well, obviously they claim to, the religion of mum and dad is very important. I mean, most people will just stay with the religion of mum and dad because there may be, socio in economic reasons for staying with the religion of mum and dad, inheritance reasons, right? If mum and dad take their religion seriously, and maybe sibling rivalry, all kinds of things. So most people stick with the religion of mum and dad. And then it becomes a numbers game, a demographic numbers game.
Well, you may have stuck into a thorny one. We, people of my background, have noticed other backgrounds playing a bit of a numbers game in our societies, democratically and otherwise. And we are not entirely happy about it.
Well, that's the thing. So my theory as an agnostic is that the whole structure of religion, not just in the West, it has been used to frighten people who otherwise might prefer to have casual sex, to marry early and be responsible married parents. And I'm saying, Chris Howard, whose stream you were on, he gets mad at me for saying that. How cynical! And I'm saying, yes, the whole structure of religion was created to shame people into early marriage and responsible parenting, because otherwise we'd rather be gay and trans and pump and dump each other and then ghost each other, and
Speaking as a member of my generation, how old are you? Sorry, Claire, if I may ask. You can only you can move to ballpark.
I'm middle-aged. I'm old enough.
Okay. Well, being 33, I'm approaching middle age, but I'm not quite there. So I lived in a different time, and in my time, I was a natural romantic as a child. From like just as a natural politic, a natural romantic, and it was a blasted hellscape that I walked into, where I couldn't make anything happen.
Yes.
And ultimately that caused a path that I now understand is a part of my destiny that you may very well not approve of. However, I will return to romanticism. This actually comes back to harmony, of all things. The start, the departure, and the return. Okay?
Yes.
So you begin with the law and it satisfies up to a point. And then it doesn't. And you leave. And then you discover the problem that makes the law what it is, and you come back. That is not a false process. That is not, wouldn't it have all been better if we just did what God wanted all along? There is something entirely different happening on this planet. And I think it's an opportunity that isn't to be overridden by, dare I say it, no offense to you, Claire. I understand where you're coming from, and I think it's a mature and considered place. But I think there is a necessity for the incorporation of what is learned. I would say something truly dangerous here, and I may be proven wrong in the end. But what is learned through quote unquote sin is valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. We see the temptations, and then we see the reason for discouraging people from acting out what they.
But you want to avoid the
do.
act itself. That's not my claim at all. I think in the act, something is there. And that is a massive tension with God is perfect, God is just, God is just like, I can feel the angels getting mad at me when I say stuff like this. But I also know there is some reason this is my personal being, my personal bonnet. Now, I am an idealist, and I do want to achieve the ultimate good I am capable of. But there is also a reason I am who I am, and I've done what I've done.
I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to and why you were otherizing me.
Fair enough.
Because
I
thought we were kind of agreed on.
We are reasonably agreed. We are, but we find little vibrational edge case difficulties.
And
I find it interesting
exactly what you disagree with me about, so I understand you better.
This is also a common problem I run into with Christians. In that sin, error, etc., it's maybe completely unavoidable. And I mean the actualization of it, not just the temptation. So what does that mean? If sin is genuinely unavoidable, and maybe it is.
Yes, rules are made to be broken. I keep telling people rules are made to be broken.
And life finds a way.
His 10 Commandments, did he, hell? He knew.
I mean, what was God smoking think it was going to work? God must have been wise enough to know this was a process that was going to encounter failure.
Yeah, because the idea was, he actually put it, I mean, some could say, we weren't even thinking of doing it. I mean, Adam and Eve could say, we weren't even thinking of eating from the tree of life and knowledge until you told us not to go and eat there. We would never have done it. So
interesting.
It was a form of malign encouragement, because he was just looking for an excuse to kick them out, right? To get human civilization started. So,
well, you could say that. I actually have. I'm familiar with a very different Adam and Eve narrative than most people are, which makes very direct claims about what happened and didn't happen and contradicts the Bible in significant ways.
TLDR, it's a feature, not a bug.
You could say that.
Yes, I had to come in here with the steel chair just warning you guys, I have now
Yeah?
an entire page worth of notes. As
Okay, I think it's time. Sorry, OCD, you have been on the bench for a while. Let's let
Yes.
you go for some time.
No, you guys can finish because I still have half a mouthful of eggs right now, and I'm not supposed to talk with my mouth full. But
That's all right.
I am, yeah, as my internet handle is usually .warner. I am warning you. I have written an entire page worth of notes. So
It sounds like you've been having fun then.
yes. A lot of fun.
And
And
paying
then
attention.
you guys, as my internet autismo handler, will have to say, strike that, go on, when I go through these notes. Okay? Yes?
Of course.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
As I
So Josh, you were saying you disagreed with me in some regards, and I'd like
Well,
to.
it's more of a tendency that I have seen before that I feel there is and I feel I've made my point. Actually, I'd like to switch it around and focus more on where we do agree. Because there's plenty I actually understand that I think we do agree on. Sorry, there was just a funny one from Antiquidai or whatever. Good, try to make up. And indeed, I would much prefer we are on better terms at the end of this than worse. I think you are one of those wonderful pillars of the old truths. Or at least that's what perhaps you seek to be. In some fashion.
Well, I just have a compulsion to say the problem could be so easily solved if you could only see things my way. And
Yes.
what did I say that is not true or illogical? Please tell me if you don't like what I say or don't agree.
It's something very personal. It's much less a matter of grand ideologies and much more like, there's a reason I have been in such dark places, even by my own actions. And it goes beyond this notion of sin is utter waste. I can't explain it. I cannot explain it. It's a personal thing. But for you, I understand logically and I understand socially that if people cared more about the deep wisdoms and the old truths, that, for example, the DEI crowd casts to the wind and try to build everything from whole cloth right now with no consideration for God, tradition, wisdom, etc. The elders, as you've brought up. That I have realized is a false project. In fact, I was naturally more left-leaning when I was younger and grew slowly disillusioned over time.
Same here.
And then ended up in the dissident right because that actually was an interesting place with lots of new ideas, like new to me at least. So if you like, what do you think? So you said something earlier before about you wanting this to be accessible to the common person to some extent. You seem to indicate that. What do you feel is I want to actually give you like 2 minutes or something in that ballpark to just give your speech to the ordinary man. What is the way forward?
The way forward is to consider the divine narrative and entertain the idea that God might exist, who will reward you for the good that you do and will punish you for the evil that you do in this life and the next. And therefore, the purpose of the afterlife is so that people can see that in theory, good will be rewarded and evil punished. Because if we only confine our scope to this life, then we won't see an awful lot of good being rewarded and evil being punished. And so we create a category of the afterlife that says good people go to heaven, bad people go to hell, and the in-between people, they get another chance at reincarnation, that kind of idea. So we create these categories because otherwise it wouldn't be logical to believe that good will be rewarded and evil punished. And of course, only if God exists would such a thing happen. Only and only if God exists would it be logical that, in theory anyway, good will be rewarded and evil punished. And then we can see that these religions, these organized religions in particular, have all been about you have to believe in the right God, for the right reasons, and you can't just be vague about idolatry and heresy, and because these things are really, 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 really important, and this I think is makes Western man the biggest beneficiary of organized religion, because he has, after all, acquired 3 global empires, but may now become a victim of his own success, because I think the corollary of conquering all these countries is that eventually you will want to bring in all those people you conquered to be your cheap labor, if your own people won't do the work because they, want to enjoy the benefits of a welfare state. And obviously they fall into the welfare trap. But also, one of the things about the welfare state, and I do say that, maybe um, the British and the Americans should not have abolished slavery, because if you don't have slavery, which is the most efficient form of workfare, you're going to have a welfare state. And once you have it, it will just get bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually the parasitical elements of society will outnumber the productive elements of society. And that was how Rome became a victim of its own success, because of its bread dole in Rome, when the Romans in Rome were entertained with bread and circuses, but only in Rome. The rest of the empire had to pay their taxes to keep the what used to be the working classes from rioting.
Mm.
Because when Rome was very successful and became a great empire, it got all those slaves, and the rich people then preferred to deal directly with slaves because they were more willing, and ignored the Roman proletariat,
Mm.
making them redundant, and then eventually parasitical, and then eventually refusing to join the army, and then, according to Machiavelli, forcing the Roman government to hire mercenaries. And once you
And
hire
auxiliaries.
yeah, I mean, that's the end of you, because everybody then knows you're not able to fight. You don't even want to do your own fighting. And once you give, armies your money and your weapons, they know that they can string it out or even attack you if they wanted to,
Beep
because they
boop.
know you don't want to fight and are capable of it.
Okay. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Claire. OCD, go ahead.
All right, so the East Asian AI bot has finished her mouthful of egg, and is ready to do some internet autismo. But let's see. Do you want me to do it in the voice of Our Lady of the Perpetually Offended this time, or no?
Well, someone is saying something. There's a funny thing about woke and DAI are conflations and not being sincere with the actual topics. What does this mean? So, the Our Lady of the Perpetually Offended is a way of referring to it as is DEI and woke, and someone seems to be taking issue with us treating it that simply.
Well, I mean, okay, hold on. Our Lady of the Perpetually Offended is also large and contains multitudes. It has multiple chapters, right?
Sure.
One of the chapters we are familiar with is the church lady, the clutch pearling church lady, right? The SNL skit played by Dana Carvey that calls everything.
In atheist form, perhaps.
Well, that's the atheist version making fun of the pearl clutching church lady, the one that points to everything and says Satan, right?
Yes.
Is it Satan, kids? Right? I can kind of do that voice because I know that voice, right? I can also do the voice of Our Lady of the Perpetually Offended diversity, equity, and inclusivity chapter. The istophobia reaction, because I listened to that voice screaming at me for a very long time, for long enough that I kind of know what I am being, what they are saying when at least what they are saying when they scream at me, because as it turns out, as an East Asian woman, I am not oppressed enough for their oppression Olympics. So when I step out of line, and against the approved script of being a good little victim of the oppression Olympics, I get all of the nastiest insults. In fact, people will insult me on the basis of my gender, on the basis of my race, on whatever basis they can find, right? And then now I have understood that that intent is to offend, right? So I've decided that instead of being triggered by people offending me, I will laugh and I will put on the hat. Right? One of my many hats is the ability to put on the hat people insult me with and say, okay, since you have decided, right, that I am this hat, I will put it on and I will embrace the bit, right, as a bit. So what bit do you want me to perform right now? Do you just want me to do regular me, internet autismo, down my notes? Or do you want me to do it in the voice of some victimhood grievance narrative?
I would prefer you to be yourself. And I want to hear about the notes that you've been collecting.
Okay, so do you want me to internet autismo over what Claire said about...
You've been quiet long enough that you actually can autismo out of it.
Okay.
Not too much, but a bit.
Okay, so the thing about the patriarchy being a pyramid of gay men with an alpha male at the top, do you want me to strike that and move on?
Sorry, I missed that because I was reading a comment. Say again.
Okay. So, yeah. So we can talk about. So Claire at the very beginning of when I started eating my eggs was talking about how the dread patriarchy that she sees is a of the alpha male at the top, the singular, the most dread. Well, let's see, what do we call this most dread patriarch?
Well, I would hope for the most chivalrous one.
Well, I don't know. She's saying that this alpha male is a dread patriarch, so we need to find a good nasty name for a dread patriarch. Let's call him, I don't know.
Ivan the Terrible.
Yes, okay. Ivan the Terrible is sitting on the top of the pyramid, right? And he's got a cohort of gay men, right? His lads, his own biological sons, and his eunuchs. The gay, the poor little eunuchs who lost something down there where the sun doesn't shine. So now they have no future, right? So they are now either going to self-destruct or they have to be all in on Team Ivan, because that's the only way they can have any fraction of meaning left in the world. Yes? No?
I think I get what you're going with.
Okay. Yeah. So Ivan and his cohort of gay men have formed a sacred band of thieves, right? Where they are organized in a military of gay lovers, all fighting shoulder to shoulder for each other, first and foremost, but also especially for Ivan. Wherever Ivan points, there goes the sacred band of thieves to enthusiastically gay men military all over the place. Yes, no,
Where are we going with this? This all sounds very cynical and worthy of being rejected at this point.
I'm trying to sort out what Claire is saying about the patriarchy she doesn't like. So I'm trying to understand if this is an accurate representation of what she believes about the patriarchy.
Claire, I think you should fill us in.
Right? Am I purposefully in bad faith exaggerating what you have said about the patriarchy
I thought you were saying something completely different. I thought you were saying something completely different.
I'm afraid I didn't really understand what you were saying, so I can't really answer.
If I may help.
Yes,
Claire, you sounded to me like you actually have a great deal of respect for what might be called the patriarchy. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm saying it has its burdens, and it's clear to me that most Western men don't want to assume its burdens, preferring their culture of casual sex. That is why they have no interest in restoring it. They, just want to continue pumping and dumping women and enjoying the culture of casual sex. Because
The what's his name? Andrew Tate approach, if you will.
yes, but
yes, the dread shadow man who is either a pickup artist or an incel, right? The loser men who lost out of the pyramid because they are not gay. They are in fact super straight, right? They want to they want to have, if not a wife, at least a woman they can have such casual sex with. Yes.
One finds oneself settling for all sorts of things sometimes.
Right. So the super straight men at the fringes of this pyramid of gay men. I am trying to sort out my hallucinations, anti-OCD AI. This is why I talk. I talk at real people to try to sort out my hallucinations.
I think having a band of gay men has somewhat confused matters, if I'm honest.
Well, I don't know. This is because I wrote down the words "gay men," right?
Yes, this may be my fault in that I talked to a gay married man, and he has ideas that are antithetical to mine, because I want to restore the patriarchy, and he says no one's interested. I want my eugenic breeding program, and I argue with him about what eugenic really means, and I'm saying his idea of eugenics is really degenerate, and he had this theory about making women extinct because the subversive troublemakers, and ideally would just like a society of gay men using artificial wombs to the next generation. And I went along with this theory, but I asked him, how are gay men going to choose who is the best leader? Would it be a gay man, best at giving blowjobs, or how, and if he's clever, and maybe he's going to lie to them and exploit them in time. So for gay men, there are none of these categories that I explained to you earlier about married fathers with children who are a credit to them, no exclusion of certain people, and of course the situation is unimaginable and also, of course, a society of only one sex is cannot perpetuate itself, as is a society purely made of women, even though there's this idea that women can be cloned, and men too, but I'm talking about sexual reproduction within wedlock, which is the only way forward in my view, and that's why religion has been constructed to support this practice.
Right. So that is also somewhere in my notes, but that's further down. Yeah. So this is right. And then so good news. Well, I don't know if this is good news or not about that society of nothing but men, but somewhere back up that tree of second wave feminism, the women, the vaunted scholars of women's studies, some of which included women, wrote all of the vaunted women's studies papers about how to solve society. The way they decided to solve society was kill the lowest kill all of the men in the
least desirable men.
All of the least desirable men. Whatever, yeah. And then so whichever lucky desirable men that are still left after that culling, yes. They
really don't think about the logistics of who's going to be killing the least desirable men, do they?
Right, and then who decides who the desirable men are?
Well, obviously the women, who will also be doing all the killing, clearly.
And then that state machine where it's just all women and a heroic last remnant of desirable mad lads. That will be the utopia that will finally solve all of our problems. So that's the proposal from, out of the vaunted halls of second wave
Well,
feminist studies.
This is where I might point out a certain problem here that tangents a little bit, but is still in keeping with what we're talking about. Do we expect total right-wing victory? Like, I don't. Do you guys?
I don't know. I expect either some kind of end of something, right? If just only the end of my own natural lifespan, or the Margaret Sanger is your baby daddy. Well,
Yeah, I actually have a problem with this fellow. He seems to just be memeing and being a
no, that's
jerk.
fine. This person.
I don't know. I'm tired of this behavior on the dissident right. Just endlessly unserious negative jokes. Just endlessly unserious negative joking. It's like, yeah, I get it, and you can keep going. You can go on with that stuff forever. It's boring.
Josh, the NAND gate, NAND. Okay,
NAND,
do you know what a NAND gate is?
No, I don't.
Alas, okay, so I will have to drop that nerd tangent about NAND gates, but if you want, you can look up what the function of a NAND gate is. And right now I have assigned this, in my head, I have assigned this person the sacred duty of being my NAND gate. Okay, that's how I can AI properly. Because without that,
in a sense, you're a jester. You're a jester.
Yes, this is
he
my
seems
jester,
like a bit of a jester to me.
Who is honking at me
it is
to
better
keep
to
me
have
back on
hate
track.
watchers than to have none at all.
I understand that, Claire. I also run a very small YouTube channel.
Yes. Beggars can't be choosers, can we? No, I just ignore them. Ignore them. I don't care.
Let me perform a little bit of a bit, just for this lovely Nant person. Good, your hate feeds me.
Joy in the dark side. Yes.
Power unlimited. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't perform the Sith Lord bit too much, lest
It'll hurt your throat. Yes, indeed. It's fun for a roll, not for a journey.
I know how to do the bit without hurting my throat, but I don't want to hurt my soul too badly.
Fair enough. I have actually noticed, like, sometimes I will come across as incredibly willing to explore the darkness, but at the same time, I am an incredibly purist character. In one respect, I understand any role you adopt, even in your mind, even theoretically, can be dangerous.
Yes. So let's see.
Do we all remember Heath Ledger's Joker?
Yes.
Incredible performance.
The Joker more or less literally killed him. Yes.
Yes.
So yes, do not put on masks willy-nilly.
But you say that, and yet a part of me also says, "My God, it was worth it."
Yeah, because it was.
Look, greatness takes the Icarus thing sometimes.
Sometimes, yes, but but you don't necessarily have to be Icarus, because we already have Icarus. Right? We already have Icarus as the
We have Icarus at home. Sorry, I just had to meme there.
Yes.
I think one of the things that I keep expecting is, for me personally, right? I've already had many disasters and fiascos in my life, I was a strong part of them happening.
Yes.
But
sorry.
Yeah.
So if I may summon you up, because I still have an entire page worth of notes, and I'm trying to figure out where we left off. Is that you ran face first into the abyss, right? And you found, and you realized that you were not the will to power. You were the snack for the will to power.
Well, will to power is not inherently an evil thing, is it?
Well, do you want to be eaten by the will to power? That's the question I have.
I don't want to be eaten by that, especially not now.
Yeah. So, Royal Order of Gesture governs the Freemasonic Shriners. Yes, Honka Honka. Here's my little fez as a Shriner. Yes, the little scooter cart. Let's see. So now I understand why Claire has said something about gay men. So that could go off the list. And then, so yeah, okay, so the
Do you have
actual
anything about what I said about StarCraft? I want to see.
um. Well, I already told you about StarCraft, the KKKKKK, right?
That's the Korean
then,
thing.
Yeah, the Korean thing, and and then I also did the thing about the bit about the failure of the failure of the Confederation. Let's see. I don't think I had anything new for that. That was
Well, I actually want to pick up a line from that. Do you remember the guy who I told you who ultimately gave the line, "I will rule this sector or burn it to ashes around me"?
Yes, this is the will to power. This is the
It is.
I will be the sword that cleaves evil at all
And
costs.
as a kid, I remember that speech. I'm like, wow, I want to take his
Yes.
side.
Yes, so
And
this
you're
is
not
the
allowed to in the game. You have to
Yes.
like join the rebel of the rebels and leave. And I'm like, oh,
Yes.
I wanted to join the
Yes.
Empire.
because because the way you determine leadership in a pyramid of gay men
Yes.
is that ultimately, if you cannot argue yourself your way out through pure reason, it eventually becomes might makes right. I have the bigger fist. Your argument is invalid.
Well, this is one of the problems with the patriarchy. That can happen.
Yes, that's the toxic masculinity everybody is worried about. Is eventually some mad lad who will look at the mess, with the chaos, and say, I will do whatever it takes to order this chaos. Even if I become chaos, it will be worth it to kill chaos. In order to kill the gods who are evil, I will become chaos, because the alternative is for the gods to keep reintroducing chaos.
It sounds a little bit like the monkey from Journey to West.
Yes, it sounds a little bit like Jack Garland from Stranger of Paradise, if you've played that game. It sounds a little bit like
haven't.
It sounds a little bit like the Satanic Impulse if you've read the Bible. And I do it sounds a little bit like whatever the little devil figure is in Arabic folklore that when told to bow to Adam, he says, no, I am a strict monotheist. I will not bow to Adam. I will only worship God. And to prove that Adam is not worth worshiping, I will tempt Adam into sin and accuse Adam in a court of law.
The endless games. I tire sometimes with the spiritual games.
Yeah,
One asks sometimes why God does not destroy evil if he is capable of it.
Oh, the problem of evil. Well, I think the idea is to give us a choice of good and evil to choose from, and to check that we know the difference between good and evil in theory and in practice.
Well, there are some things that are so horrible that happen to the innocent that the question remains quite strong.
I mean, what the Bible, as somebody who's read my Bible, what the Bible says, what we did to ourselves was we got the most uncomplicated singular no possible in all creation. We had one yes and one no. Okay. The yes was, right, be fruitful and multiply and take over the earth. So maybe however many yeses that was, right?
It's so funny how I feel that has been misunderstood, considering the story of Adam and Eve I'm familiar with. But go on, please.
The yes we got was that, right? And the one no we got was that fruit of that tree over there. Do not eat that. That is death. You die the day you eat of it. The very day, sir.
Life and choice, by their very nature, are unknowable even to God to some extent. Otherwise, he would be bored.
And so my offer is: this is the feature, not the bug, right? God gave us the most simple 1 and 0 possible, the 2-bit, right? If you want.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I can't stand it anymore. I just want to talk to you. Is that okay?
Oh, well, okay.
I can't. Anyway, I think you were asking me a question about the problem of evil, and
yes,
and I'm saying, suffering is either punishment for sin or a trial to see if we are worthy of something better. And the story of Job is basically the story of Job passing the test, because he was told, well, I mean, he didn't curse God and die as his wife told him to. He didn't curse God and die. He stayed faithful, and eventually his fortunes were restored. And now he's got a book all to himself in the Old Testament, and that was his prize for remaining faithful to God. There you go.
Interesting. And I
Because if he
considered the
just
book
led
of
a nice life and nothing bad happened to him, we wouldn't care about him.
well, I have it from God's own words, if you will. Sorry, that's another joke, but it's also literal. That part of the whole point of not just the problem of evil, as you might put it, and all forms of relation of opposites and dichotomies and so forth, is to give an understanding of what is good. Otherwise, there would be no knowledge. And then we know appreciation. Eternity is a difficult engine to run well. Eternity is quite the project. And as I understand it, places like this, in which the suffering is quite intense and the trial is quite impossible sometimes, is part of the engine that powers it all. That is part of what I am getting at with there is more to this than just doing as we're told.
Well, I think it is about obedience, because if you look at Deuteronomy, there are blessings for obedience and curses for disobedience. So
I have to actually, this is another thing that's been on my mind, Claire. I need more clarification of who you are, because I'm getting such mixed signals. I remember back when I did the Paul Vanderklay thing, and I was checking through the comments, and someone was flipping out about me not talking to you. I was like, it's been 7 hours since that invitation was given. I've just woken up to see it now. They were saying that I was like racist or something because you were a Muslim or something, and I must have chosen that as my reason for not talking to you. Are you Islamic particularly? It seems that you are to some degree, but you also seem to be having an interesting mix of influences and ideas going through your traditions upon which you draw. Is that correct?
Well, my parents are Buddhist Taoist, and I there are no Muslim family members. In fact, I actually have Christian family members. But having taken an interest in politics since I was young, I guess my thing has been, here's a problem. How could it be solved in theory? That kind of thing. So basically, the problem is that you need a mechanism for people to police each other's morals. So you need a book of rules or a rule system. So you can say to your leaders, you can't do that because we've all agreed that whatever it is that we agreed to do, and that's why you have a constitution. But it took centuries before the founding fathers said, hey, let's have a constitution and write it all down.
I can understand what you seem to be getting at. Laws, principles, where everyone buys in and everyone can police each other and so forth. I do understand that concept. I mean, I've even dabbled in it myself. Back when I was younger, I had some sort of ambition, and it was a silly, boyish ambition of a teenage sort. Of maybe there is some ultimate philosophical combination of ideas and principles and so forth that really can give excellent answers to everyone, functionally speaking, at least. In a way, I moved on from this, but in a way, I still see the appeal. But I think, if anything, my role in this moment, if you believe in a bit of, shall I say, destiny, or that people get brought together for reasons that go beyond their own intentions, do you believe in that?
Well, yes, because I think we're all talking because we have an interest in theology and religion and politics, and we somehow have this idea that religion is kind of politics, and the vice versa, and whether we like it or not, it's something to do with the rules and our beliefs and how we consider us, one of the gang if we believe a certain thing, and not one of the gang if we believe a different thing.
This is again in group, out group, friend enemy distinction type stuff. So the ultra idealistic position is there is no out group, there's only us.
Well, I tend to I subscribe to Freudian theory. Most of the time, we are even within ourselves divided, because there is the
That's also true.
the superego, and the ego, and we are we are conflicted. And when you think of a big group of people, a nation, an empire of group of people who don't know what they want from one moment to the next, and swayed only by their emotions, and never being able to find a resolution, because one day I might hate you and tomorrow I might like you again, because I think we've all changed our minds over important things in our lives. That you were saying you began as a liberal, I began as a communist. Here I am.
See, ironically,
but that's only because we have.
Sorry, I shouldn't interrupt. Please go on.
No. I finished about I started as a communist, and here
So
I am.
you've experienced a great deal of ideological variety.
Only because I guess I've taken the trouble to examine all the ideologies that I've come across.
I think it's fair to say that I have as well, even though I'm younger than you. I think the realm of logic and ideas is. I've always valued it. I was more logical as a child than I am at this point. I also, though I still, of course, have respect for the approach. Also, I think what I'm supposed to get across to you, and it almost feels like a little inkling from higher up, is the transactional nature of policing one another, of rewarding the just and punishing the sinner. And that you also do things like reference the Book of Job, where there was no sin. It was just pure trial. Again, there's a lot of nuance and interest in your thinking. And I can see why you are drawn to me, in fact. Because beneath the jokester, Aussie, American, European stuff, beneath a lot of it, there's a lot more going on here than many people can accept.
Well, I can tell you're an intelligent and driven young man.
There's no reason to deny that, even for humility. And what I feel is worth communicating is the limitations of reward, punishment, and rules agreed upon, and all of that. What we can reach back, and I believe in that. I've come to understand that. My exploration of the dissident right was very much an understanding of what has gone before and why it matters. And in many ways, the right is more concerned with the past. The left is more concerned with the future. Would you tend to agree with that?
I think the left is feminine and the right is masculine, or tries to be.
I tend to agree with that as well.
Because the left is all about emotion. We must care for this and that, and the right is the rules. And I think it's a very male way of solving problems. It's like, we feel all kinds of stuff in our heads, and we just need the rules so we can just point to it and solve our problems that way. And the rules are independent of our emotions.
It's the nature of almost like a judiciary. Something impartial.
Yes. Independent of us.
I also feel I might as well tell you, I very much appreciate this patriarchal appreciation coming from a woman, especially a sophisticated one. We have a lot to do, my side of the aisle, because we have fallen behind. I even feel my appearance leaves something to be desired, and it is an accurate reflection of my state, in the sense that I am a little bit fat, I am a little bit disheveled, I'm a little bit not all that I could be. But
Well, aren't we all? But your hair looks
aren't we all?
perfectly fine. I
Oh,
know
it
lots of
could be better. I've seen it look better.
YouTubers who don't even comb their hair, even when they're on a kind of a big stream.
Well, this to me is actually I can definitely do better. I freshly washed it, and as freshly washed hair sometimes goes, it gets a bit frizzly, you know.
Yeah. But no, I think
What did I? I did.
you have great social skills, and you're very patient, and I do appreciate that, and I think all women want is somebody smarter than they are, taller than they are, more money than they are, and that's enough. That's enough. We don't want somebody shorter and stupider and poorer. No.
No,
But
and
that's all we want.
there was a topic on which we touched upon but did not delve into, something like eugenics.
Hmm.
I have come to the understanding that women run the eugenics.
Yes, and that is why you have to slut shame them, because how can you? You have to. But the thing is, you also want to fuck them, so you're
Yes.
conflicted. It's like we want to shame them, but no, we
No,
don't.
no, no, no. Also, you may be getting strong vibes of ambitious young man who wants to be a great man of history, and you'd be right from me. And one of the great problems of great men of history is we can't keep it in our pants.
Well, I know, which is why you need women to help you and slut shame
Yes.
other women, which was how it
Ah,
used to work, right? I mean, it's like it's like, oh, there's that slut. I'm gonna buy her dinner tonight after I bought her a few drinks. Yeah, it's that kind of thinking. It's
well,
like,
the hilarious thing that you're kind of alluding to is the policing again. And the one of the things about the left is they want no policing at all that is not on their terms and is not in their values. They hate with a passion a woman like you who says, no, cut it out. It's bullshit. You're doing damage. And like, in a way, I am more liberated in sexual attitudes and mores than you are. Let's just say that outright. However, I very much appreciate a wingman or wingwoman, if you prefer, on the other side of the aisle who is willing to call a woman out for things like manipulation, deception, various womanly games that the toxic femininity, if you will, which I have run into in various forms. And it left me quite aggravated because I, as a man, can do nothing about it.
well,
And
yes.
that is unfair.
Yes, and I think a lot of men are confused by feminism because since birth we're all the same. It's like no, but they don't respond in the same way to certain stimuli, right? And it's like we women, we're very good at being able to refuse no string sex. We say no all the time, while men, I think they have great. It's not equal, right? You're not equally
It's not the
capable
same.
of saying
It's not
no
the same.
the way women
No.
are, exactly, and women are not equally good at being manual laborers and soldiers and working.
There
at
are forms of
small
masculine
street
wisdom
farms.
too that women are not as good at.
Yes, and of course women men are hopeless at giving birth to children and that sort of thing. So we just have to acknowledge our biological limitations, and it's like maybe we think we can do something better, but for the sake of society we have to perform, or yes, we have to perform our allocated gender roles, or else we will just be competing with each other and hating each other and muscling in on each other's territories, away transgender women are muscling in on female sport, and women are muscling in on male territory by being in HR and being very much resented. And men also, well, they want to be women, right? Because the
Wouldn't
I
that
think
be easy as far as them are concerned?
pardon.
Sorry, the men becoming women thing, I see it as wouldn't that be the easier way as far
No,
as I can
because
see?
I
I
think
have
that,
to admit, a part of me wants to call them traitors.
yes,
Like, you can't take the easy way out. This is the masculine hard times, and we have to get through it as what we are.
Yes, because I think the men who want to become women think all I have to do is look pretty and keep my mouth shut, and I will get more offers of sex than I care to accept. And this is what female privilege really is, that men envy women for, to get more offers of sex than they are prepared to accept.
Well, again, part of the issue is marriage is actually, if I may localize the issue to Australia. Do you know that in Australia, a de facto relationship of, let's say, living together for something like 9 months is considered as good as marriage in terms of if there's a breakup and property needs to be divided, things like that.
Well,
It's a very bad environment, actually, for people coming together on any way.
it's a terrible way of, taking property of men.
That too.
And,
Uh,
and yeah, reducing men to sperm donors, basically.
There is that as well. And another matter I'm not entirely satisfied with. Now, there's a couple of comments here that may actually be of value from anti-OCD AI. Again, Josh, conflation about left policing, shaking my head. Well, I mean, is there no such thing as policing on the left and no such thing as the left rejecting policing? I would prefer if you would answer me there, because what are you actually shaking your head about? Josh, your toxic bigotry games hinder your harmony. Yes, I know. I'm working on it. But it's also fun to be racist sometimes because it helps people get along sometimes. Have you ever come across this yourself, Claire?
Well, I mean, I think people just can't help themselves. They want to just say something that otherizes the other person. It could be, just being sexist or ageist or whatever. And why should race be, in a way, be sacred? It's like, well, get over it, sticks and stones and stuff.
Yes, there's a point there too. I was also referring to the way in which a negative joke can bring people together under the right circumstances. I think you know what I mean, right? Negative joke about those people over there causing all the problems for us, all those bastards, all those women, all those gays, or whatever. It's understandable. Of course, in a way, it would be better to move past it, ultimately, into something much, much better. And again, I think this is, you're an experience. You're older. You're addressing the lack of respect for the old wisdom. Again, that's just my perception here. I think I'm kind of unbased, but it's like I'm still in the youthful idealism phase in some ways, where it's like we need something better than ever, even as we are facing down times that could be worse than ever. It's one of those best of times, worst of times kinds of paradoxes. Because may I be critical of you, Claire?
Please do.
Your speech, I gave you the floor to give a speech to the common man about the state of things and what you would like to see happen and done. Yes? I would not have been inspired by it.
Well,
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, what is the speech then? Please.
Well, I actually can't remember. I think it was more an explanation than a speech. If you want an inspirational speech, well, perhaps if you give me more time to work on it. But
of course,
most of the time, what I say is meant to be explanatory and,
considered, shall we say, rather than the great general speech, which is in a way a masculine domain. The general speech is a male thing.
Yes,
whereas, say, the female thing is the comfort to the general in the bedroom later on after he's dealt with all his soldiers dying. I mean, these are the male-female roles.
Well, actually, in Japanese, in the Japanese language, I mean, women are supposed to speak in a certain way, and men have a different way of talking. And this is just recognized by how they say. I don't actually know how they do it, but there was a story about this European who had a Japanese girlfriend, and she taught him how to speak Japanese in the way that she knew, and then he went to Japan and spoke to Japanese men, and then they all laughed at him for saying he literally spoke like a woman with all the I don't know the verbs and whatnot. of
I see. It's almost perhaps a variation, not the same thing, but a variation on someone coming and speaking on metrosexual, even if they're straight, or something like that. I find it all kind of amusing in some ways.
But even the use of certain words give us away about,
Oh, surely.
our political allegiances. Just discussing that subject means you are one of us or beyond the pale or whatever it is,
I've used phrases that probably gave myself away as dissident right, educated at some point. What actually gave it away? I'm curious if you can pinpoint a
I
phrase.
can't remember. I think
Was it the spirit overall as opposed to a phrase?
Yes, and I know you haven't been given the Paul van der Clay treatment because I mean one of the things he does say to keep people under control is we are not the kind of people who talk about things like that, So
He says that, does he, to some
he
people?
said that to me. I think he said it to Bomboy, but I think she wanted to talk about Jews or something.
Oh, yes, that topic, that old chestnut.
And I think when I was doing it, I wanted to talk about unmarried single mothers, rearing their children and child.
Yes, he is Dutch in his background. He has a liberal, it'll all be fine kind of boomer mindset in some ways, Paul van der Clay. A little bit of a weakness, but also in its way a strength. He is confident things will work out. I sort of agree.
Yes, there are certainly broad areas of agreement, and he has certainly brought us together because he is such a broad ship, and he makes people welcome, even though quite a few of us are critical of him and don't always agree with him. But that's kind of good enough, really. I mean, I guess we're kind of English speaking people with an interest in theology, religion, and politics, and psychology and spirituality.
All of the above, I would say. I mean, in a way, I am less well versed in religion than I am in, say, politics, history, or spirituality. But religion is rising in my, I would almost say, estimation. But partly what I really want to mean is rising in my considerations. I feel I have something to do there. I mean, I've known that for a very long time, actually. But what I'm saying is, I am more of an expert in spirituality, not because I'm well learned in all the New Age stuff, although I do know a bit of that sort of thing. Different than you might expect, though. But I feel experienced as a spiritual life. I've been through things. I've had experiences, and they taught me a lot. Part of that funny thing that I keep talking about, what you gain from going into the darkness and also feeling it inside of you. That's part of it. Not all of it, of course, but part of it. Can I ask you, have you had powerful spiritual experiences of your own, even though you say you're agnostic?
Oh yes, I think everybody does, but I don't want to talk about them because people will say, "Oh, but you were drunk. Oh, but you were stoned. You're a bit crazy. You were hallucinating." So I really want to actually stop people from saying, "Oh, I felt the Holy Spirit enter into me and God spoke to me on a mountain." It's like just choose the belief you want to believe and believe in it. But obviously, after filtering out, reasons why you shouldn't. Maybe it's a cult. Maybe it's bad for you or whatever.
No, I hear you. I really do. And I would add, I think I began, again, much of my childhood and teenage years relatively bereft of spiritual experience. I found religion fairly disappointing, and spirituality seemed silly to me for a long time. But I was in the world of logic and ideas. If anything was my salvation, it was the right combination of abstractions and then bringing them into the world. The right search for meaning on a more philosophical sense, but it's almost like I read too much science fiction, for one thing.
Oh, really? Did you read Asimov?
I did. I read a great deal of Asimov. Do you know Asimov?
Oh yes, the Foundation series. I mean that.
Yes.
And
I've not read every last one of them, but I've read a lot of them. Most of them, I think. There's this great idea in each of them. What do you make of the mule character?
He's sort of like the Antichrist.
Wow, what a statement. I have been asked more than once if I am Jesus or the Antichrist. That is unusual. Not everyone goes through that.
Well, I suppose, we have the good and the bad, and we don't really know quite which way we're going to go. Or we may
Indeed.
think we're being good, but we might not be.
Of course.
But that's why the rules are so helpful.
Yes. Well, I love ideas, and in a way, Claire, rules are ideas, aren't they?
Yes, they're safety rails, given to us by a benevolent God, if that is how we choose to conceive of God. And I
And yet
think
you
it is
call yourself an
necessary.
agnostic.
Well, I listen to. Okay, I have taken the trouble to study all the Abrahamic religions, and an easy way of absorbing Judaism is to listen to rabbis on YouTube, and you get a lot of that. You kind of absorb it, and it's quite logical, really, because you have to believe that God is benign, or you won't love Him and you won't want to obey Him. So that's and also an absolutely powerful God would be morally perfect, because it's easier to be morally imperfect than morally perfect. But if you're absolutely powerful, then of course you're morally perfect, and you're always logical rather than occasionally illogical. This is really the foundational aspect of absolute power.
Interesting. One proposition I'd like to mention is God has been through and is every form of logic and is now post-logical.
Why would you say that? Is it because you don't think some of the things he does?
No, I think some of the things are logical. I'm
Yes.
saying that he's reached a state greater than logic.
Why do you think that? And what
Well-
could be greater than logic?
Well, this is a good one. And also, let's think about Asimov here. Asimov, incredibly logical writer, incredibly logical, and beautiful explorations of logic, actually, in some of his writing. You could hassle him for not being literary enough or going into character depths enough, but the logic was great, truly great, especially for a young reader like me. But God must challenge himself or herself, or however you want to view that question. God must challenge themselves, or else eternity is boring. And logic, he already knows all the answers. How can he not? There must be projects to actually interest the Almighty, if you will. There must be great arcs coursing across finite time and eternity itself that are genuinely still compelling to the being. And I think they transcend logic as well as include it. Does that make sense?
Well, I suppose you could construct a story when God becomes bored. I'm so bored. I always know what's going to happen in the end.
Asimov wrote
I
that
know,
very
I'll just
story.
make
Do you know
myself
that?
forget. I'll make myself forget, so I don't know what's going to happen next, and then as time passes, but still things will end happily. Maybe something like that. But I think it's probably heretical. You could say that we're just his guinea pigs, or examinees, and he's saying, well, which one of you will be, the best candidate? Obviously the prophets, but what about the others who think they're so smart? That kind of thing.
Interesting.
I mean,
I guess.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was saying, some years ago, I did, try to make a narrative of God, being bored and, making himself forget what was going to happen, because, it's more fun if you don't know what's going to happen.
One of the very sticky questions of free will is he can't actually know what you're going to do. Because if he knows what you're going to do, he has essentially determined the matter. and therefore is
We don't know
responsible
what
for
we're
what you
going to
do.
do.
Therefore,
We don't
God is
know.
responsible for sin.
I think you're taking the Calvinist line of
Perhaps
predestination, and I'm saying God may know what we're going to do, but we don't know what we're going to
we
do.
don't.
No, we
Now,
don't.
God knowing what we are going to do when He set everything into motion raises a question concerning the problem of evil. We can explore that, or we could leave that. But logically, in the realms of logic, that does make sense to me, and that calls into question the whole perfection thing, at least provisionally, not absolutely. I am a bit different than many. I don't have a problem with God being imperfect. In fact, I think that is something He inevitably wishes to explore, because perfection is an uncharted territory for themselves.
Well, I think for um, for the sake of humanity, we are supposed to think that he is absolutely powerful, absolutely perfect, can do blah blah blah, and then we have to try to learn from our history. It's like, oh, but this bad thing happened and that bad thing happened, and
Hmm.
why did God allow it? Blah 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 blah. And Leibniz actually came up with a theory of the best of all possible worlds. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I mean, not truly. I actually know the Camus mocking of it. Actually, I don't know it as
Camus
in its
was
pure form from Leibniz.
Well, Camus was an existentialist, though, wasn't he? And so was
Something like that. Yeah.
Heidegger.
My philosophy knowledge is not as good as it should be, but please go on.
Oh, I'm just saying, existentialists are basically um, atheists, because it's only atheists who think, well, we're here, what shall we do? Well, if you really did believe in God, it's like, well, we have to make sure we go to the better place in the afterlife, if you took it literally, which I know a
Mm,
lot of people don't, but
mm,
that's what you know people who really believe in God are supposed to believe.
mm, mm. I wonder. I wonder where to next. And I also should ask, how much time do you have? I have a good amount of time still to go, but if you need to wrap up at some point, just let me know.
No, I'm happy to keep it going because, well, I do have some flexibility if there are any important subjects you want to discuss.
Well, wonderful. Let's come into solving the problems. That's a good
Mhm.
place to go, especially towards the end. We may be towards the end as opposed to towards the beginning, but we can still keep going for a while. So, the problems, the solutions to the problems.
Mhm.
So, where do we start with convincing and persuading people to understand and accept the kinds of rules or ideas you are advocating for?
I would just rely on the divine narrative because
Mm.
otherwise, I'm just one woman with a very, very unpopular idea that people just want to throw rocks at. So,
What is so unpopular about your idea? I love unpopular ideas.
well, it's my idea of a one party theocracy, which is obviously antithetical to Western liberties, right? And
Yes.
representative democracy and feminism and Christianity and, you know,
You understand there is really only one potential leader of a one party theocracy, globally or even nationally.
I'm not sure what you mean.
The place is already taken. Believe me, I've thought about it.
What, you mean China?
No.
Oh, Iran.
Jesus. Someone would need to convince the world that they were the second coming.
Well, no, because I think the second coming is when the world is about to end, when
I
it's
hope
the
not
end
there.
times, right? I mean that's a story, and that's why Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have the same kind of eschatology. I mean, Jews believe the Messiah will come and everything will be
Yes, they
fine.
do.
Christians say Jesus will come, have a second coming, and Muslims say Jesus will come, but accompanied by the Mahdi, because if there was a beginning to the universe, there will also be an end to the universe. And
Well, that's the universe. I'm talking more this world.
well, I know you'll probably resent it a little bit, but
Go on, please.
Allah is known by Muslims as Lord of the Worlds. So there is this sort of assumption that
There's more than one.
there are planets capable of sustaining intelligent life. Yeah, the Quran.
I actually prefer that idea to the Christian insistence that this is the only place there is.
Oh, good.
So
Good.
I, for example, I'm a big fan of the Book of Urantia, or the Urantia book, whatever order you prefer. It's an extensive text, fascinating stuff, may resonate with you. You will hate parts of it. You will perhaps love parts of it. I don't think my job is to sell you the book as a whole, the way that Christians like to sell books as a whole, as in the Bible. I think it's just one of those things where you just go, whoa, big if true. You get a bit of that. You must know the phrase, yes? Big if true. True if big. I would not tell you to go right away and search up the Book of Urantia, because I think you'll know when to look at it. You'll know when to think, why should I investigate this? Because I will be bringing it up repeatedly throughout the course of my, shall we say, career. And eventually it will pique your interest. But I'm mentioning it now. And part of the reason I mention it now is it's very much a cosmology of spirituality in which there are many, 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 many worlds discussed as under the reign of the, let's call it, a very advanced and new, highly logical, by the way, Christian narrative, Christian-esque narrative. It's big. It's big. It's so much less confined to this planet. Rick is the only person in TLC that is hip to Urantia book. I don't know who Rick is. Perhaps I should learn who Rick is later. But Urantia book is astonishingly well written in terms of the precision of the use of English, the introduction of English concepts, both the redefinition of certain words, such as the word personality, and that is a thing you can discover for yourself if you wish to, and the introduction of new words, which are quite useful once you understand the definition thereof. It is a massive text, but you can read it in any order that you wish according to your interest in the title of each section. You can also, I'll move on quickly, but you could also say that it is of its own nature quite a bold claim. It is not written by people. It claims to be from divine authority quite directly. And the backstory gives some indication that that might even be true. A curious find. And it's written natively for English, by the way. It's not a translation of any kind. So that issue goes out the window, because the Bible gets always bogged down in endless translation problems and so forth.
So who wrote it?
Who indeed? I can't tell you. You'll have to go investigate when you're ready.
All right. Do you think you might ever read the Quran out of interest and curiosity?
Out of interest, eventually. Could I say it's near and dear as interests go? No. But I'll get there one day, I think. Furthermore, I recall, and this might seem uncharitable, but it was a form of investigation. I listened to a Christopher Hitchens discussion of the negatives of the Quran, just to hear what he had to say on the topic. I found that... Oh, you've heard that too. Perhaps not all. We may have heard slightly different material, because I think he put out several things about the Quran. But it's entirely possible we heard the same thing. But he seemed to be saying, it's all plagiarism. It's not very good quality. The poetry claims rubbish because the poetry is terrible, and all that sort of thing. I mean, he's Christopher Hitchens. What else do you expect? But a few bits I did remember, such as the thing about Muhammad being made fun of for occasionally over predicting, over speaking for God or whatever, and a couple other things. One thing that I like about Islam, if I can find one, is the boldness, the uncompromising nature of its tendency to claim. That is present in Christianity, but perhaps less so, all things being understood. It's not very strong at all in the Eastern traditions like Buddhism and, say, Chinese wisdom and ancient Confucianism sort of stuff. They're big on claim nothing. The empty palm is the secret of the leaf floating on the wind, and you should all figure it out in silence. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that is really the difference between organized religion and the other kind, because the Abrahamic religions, base their claims on divine revelation. So the Jews said it's from God, the Torah, Ten Commandments, it's from God, handing it to Moses, and of course the Koran is the Gentile version of it, and the Torah is sort of written in the third person, God's eye view, kind of once upon a time, blah, 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 while the Quran is written in the vocative. It's sort of you, reader, I'm talking to you,
Interesting.
So it has this sort of directness of intent and communication, and you can't help but it's God talking to me, and he's threatening and promising and telling stories. It's that kind of thing,
Yeah.
and asking rhetorical questions and accusing and being. I don't know. It has a more intimate way of communication, and.
Interesting.
I recommend the N.J. Darwood Penguin translation, and Darwood wasn't even Muslim; he was an Iraqi Jew.
I see. But knowledgeable in texts, I assume.
I mean, I've read it in several translations, but it's just sort of more readable and more poetic, and and translates it in English in a kind of more memorable way.
Actually,
Without being archaic and saying ye and
yes.
thou and that kind of thing.
How funny that you bring that up, because I was already thinking a moment ago, are you at all a fan of Shakespeare?
Yes, I do have some appreciation.
Yes. I think I know where you're coming from, because there are things about the archaic language that really don't help. I do know my way around Elizabethan English reasonably well at this point, especially for a 33-year-old man. I was part of the Melbourne Shakespeare Society for a while, and we did many readings, and I'm familiar with about half to maybe even 2/3 of the plays, and in the sense of reading them. And also a few related readings. I actually read Guildenstern and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah, I had to do Hamlet as for A-level English.
Hamlet. So I was Laertes. I would have made a good Laertes, as you can tell. I was not in the endless inner struggle place of mind. I like to hit people with swords sometimes. One of the roles that I actually discussed with Paul van der Klee was the role of Edgar. Do you know that one?
A bastard.
The bastard?
Yes, well, I think he was complaining, wasn't he? Well, he did make a speech about bastards, right?
You're thinking of a different play, I think. Edgar from King Lear.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember me talking about that with Paul? Because I thought you saw that interview, or did you see part of it, not all of it? What do you remember?
I think I saw all of it, but probably don't remember all of it.
Of course. So Edgar is the madman whose brother well, not the madman. It's a complicated thing. Edgar is betrayed by his brother, Edmund, and has to go into the wilderness to hide from the forces trying to capture him. And he says, I'll pretend to be a madman. The Shakespearean irony here is he very well may be being driven mad by all he is going through. It isn't clear. And he is probably half pretending and half actually losing his mind. And he comes out at the 11th hour to save the day by defeating his brother. It's actually the most heroic part of King Lear, which is otherwise almost unmitigated tragedy. This reminds me of another thing for some reason, because I think we could always talk about Edgar another time, and I already have. But Trump reminds me of King Lear. The old man, the old foolish man who is the king or leader, whatever, same difference, And the problem is succession. Do you see what I'm getting at? You cannot rise to the throne through your charlatan games and your clever insults and pass it on legitimately. Can you? Not to a man, not to a woman, not to anybody. You have gathered this tremendous level of political energy, swirling chaos. You have been the lightning rod for every newspaper rag in the world. And where does it all go when you die? Or otherwise leave politics?
Yes, his legacy will be an interesting one.
It will. I rather think of him as the old man fool, the charlatan, the man who acts on impulse. There's so many things one could say about him, but when I actually sit down and listen to him at length, I'm not impressed. I'm not saying what he has done is not impressive, but the mind, the character, the being, it does not tug inside me. Go on.
Well, I think he is known for his communication skills, and I think maybe all it boils down to is
And I'm back.
saying the same thing again and again and again. You disappeared for a moment there.
Yeah, saying the same thing again, please. We can just come back.
Believed in it, like he believed in it, and maybe that's all that is required. You know, if nobody else believes in your own idea and you haven't given up on it, well, at least show that you believe in your own idea. And I think Trump passed that test anyway.
Trump passed a lot of tests. I won't deny him that. He's greater as a what is the word I'm looking for? I would call him an actor, not in the sense of action, but in the sense of standing upon the world stage and somehow handling it like an actor, in a way. Actor playing a part. Would I call him a great political mind? He's got political instinct, but he's not a great political mind. He has a form of charisma, but the charisma is very divisive. He has a kind of boldness and a willingness to do things that are unpopular and all of that. But it's like we have like half a king, if you will, in him. We don't have the other half.
Yes.
And I recall, for quite a while now, the most interesting thing that Trump can do is decide how his career ends.
Well, it may not be much longer now.
I don't feel so either. I agree with you.
But I mean, I suppose you could think, he meant well. And then once he got into the White House, the White House neocon virus got to him and took over his brain. And
I kind of agree. I see humanity in him quite a bit, actually. He's a carnival host, born wrong, born to a billionaire family, something like that. He would have more fun playing tricks on children and showing them that it's okay in the end. He belongs in a carnival to my instincts.
But I suppose, beggars can't be choosers. And what Trump did was he told Americans what they wanted to hear, that he concentrated on the issues that were, playing on their minds.
Yes. I remember a moment when I was like, wait, this is more serious than I realized. And I'm talking about the Trump phenomenon. Before he was elected the first time, there was this lady standing in, I don't even know where, it was maybe a state senate or something like that, talking to the elected representatives. She was just a common woman, you could say. And I don't mean that in a disparaging fashion. But she was speaking so passionately about the fact that Trump was talking about stuff she needed to be talked about. I was like, whoa. I thought this guy was some idiot. Why is he inspiring this passion? And that's when I knew something was coming of this. Another interesting thing Trump did was he was the first to move and declare himself a candidate in the presidential election of 2016.
Well,
and that, I think, was bold.
Yes, when you said that, so many examples came to mind about. You make me think of Andrew Yang, and he's this Democrat, and he said blah 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 white men, and it almost seemed like they all had a collective orgasm to because somebody acknowledged their existence and they might have a problem, and talking about the TLC. I mean, what I've noticed about is that there have been some streams, and they some of them go on for 3 hours, and then they talk about things that don't really make sense, and then somebody says Nick Fuentes, and they go and then it goes on with a bit Christian nationalists, and and it's like they just wanted to hear those words, and it doesn't even matter that no solution is even being proposed. It's the streamer saying, yeah, I know you want to hear those words, and I'm giving it to you. I have no solutions, but I'll just say I'm one of you because I care about Christian nationalism and want to talk about Nick Fuentes, and that's it. And that's a little that can that will please people. And I've been on X Spaces, and they just want to hear some posh academic sounding person making sexist, racist jokes, and that's it. He offers no solutions, and I'll be thrown off for saying that, but that's what they want to hear. They want the vibe.
For some reason, I'm reminded of Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yes.
You see where I'm going with that, don't you?
Yeah.
Furthermore, I'd like to say I like that Trump blew the doors wide open on being rude.
Mm-hmm.
What is that great quote of British extraction? I'm pretty sure it's British. A gentleman is someone who's only rude on purpose. I love that phrase.
Yes.
I actually, to speak of Britishness a bit more, you seem, look, that isn't your real face, I presume. Right? No. You seem to actually be of, at minimal, what my mother would call educated extraction, if not upper middle class or even somewhat posh. Am I wrong, or am I sort of?
Well, I was born in Malaysia, so I guess I came to the UK and went to boarding school, and and stayed after that. So I guess English people would say that would put me in that category. Yeah.
Interesting. Educated, definitely. This is, I guess that, but there is something aristocratic about your attitudes, for better and worse. But I like you, so don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Sorry, go on.
No, carry on.
I was just going to say, I have this funny dynamic of the working class aristocrat myself. I was not born to riches or luxury, but my parents are reasonably intelligent people, and I fancy myself reasonably intelligent, as we know. But also, I this is the rough side of town that I live in. It's not a flash home, although I've put some effort into organizing it reasonably well at this point, so that it can be the most that it can be, without being obsessively orderly. I find that people do pick up on this tendency that I am a fish out of water, even in my native country. I was born in Australia. I've lived here all my life, but I'm not a typical Australian by any stretch of the imagination. The American accent, for one, is constantly puzzled at, and even I don't fully understand it. My father does come from America. He's Minnesotan, but my sisters don't have it. Why do I have
Perhaps
it?
you listen to Americans more than you listen to any other kind of English speaker.
No, I wouldn't even say that at this point, especially. It's an oddity. It is very strange. Anyway, moving on from that, I also have this strong European draw with the music and the culture and so forth, and the blood, of course. Don't think that I am, dissident right. We are into affirming European blood as opposed to denying it and hating it. And I, of course, do not shy away from that. And that can get me in trouble. Claire, I might well have said things that may come up in an Australian courtroom later. I am not kidding.
I remember that about you, but that's cool. I mean, I spoke to Joel Davis. I spoke to Joel
Oh,
Davis.
really? I've watched some Joel Davis streams. What an interesting character he is.
Mm. But
How
I
fascinating.
thought he was riding for a fall the way he was carrying on. But
Maybe you're correct. Joel was he described himself as being more the autist, the libertarian, the ideas guy, and as he embraced, shall we say, his present ideology, he became more bold and outspoken, and he enjoyed it. He enjoyed all that stuff, and hence you get your Icarus scenario with Australian law, particularly. Furthermore, I have had run-ins with the law. I've had run-ins with a lot of Australian institutions. And what was my comment earlier? The whole thing about the right person, but with the difficult backstory that's hard to accept. That is one way I might characterize myself. See, Britain has the class thing and the reputation thing. Again, I'm just assuming you, and I'm assuming your background, but I think you know a bit of what I'm talking about. Where once you get the stain, there's no getting it off. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think there is maybe too much cultural and social fluidity. So I don't think it's the end of the world. I mean, when you think of Moses, I mean, who was he but a fleeing slave?
A fair point.
How low status can you get? And there's Jonah, and there's been quite a few low status people. I mean, you could say Muhammad was low status since he didn't really have a father, but he kind of made his way up, because he was, nice and cooperative and wise and whatever. So, I mean, I don't see any of this as being set in stone. And of course, there was Hitler, right? He made it through, I guess his energy and knowing what to say, his communication skills. Have you read Mein Kampf?
I would like to. I would like to read a good translation, not a sabotaged one.
Well, you must read the Murphy translation.
I suspect that's the one that I remember hearing was the one to go for. Again, a book literally called My Struggle is already after my heart. Nonetheless, I don't want to get too extreme in my statements about that individual openly. Although, as I've said already, it's a hill I will stand on. Not necessarily die on, but stand on and say, that man deserves fairness.
Well, I'm saying, having read it myself, I found it a real page turner, and I didn't think anything too terrible. And he wrote with compassion about the poor and about civic consciousness and nice buildings and the kind of bread and butter stuff that you would expect any politician seeking election to write about. So, that's why you have the terrible, Mannheim translation to make him sound, incoherent and stupid. I mean, that's, no, I really think that there's a lot of history that the British don't understand, and maybe the government doesn't want them to know. Because they want to cover up their mistakes, right?
Of course, yes.
Cover up their mistakes. They lost their empire picking two fights with the Germans. And the Germans are always saying, we don't even want to fight you. Why are you getting involved in this? Why?
I think we both know a bit about the Polish border that doesn't get talked about, right?
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean, it started. There's actually a very interesting Wikipedia entry about the Second 30 Years' War, which was basically World War I and World War II periodized, saying that was, the first 30 Years' War was a very destructive war for the Europeans when, even cannibalism was being practiced. And the second 30 Years' War was World War I and World War II. And it's like, what was that all about? And Pat Buchanan actually wrote a book about it and called it Churchill's War. And then, of course, he was called an anti-Semite, and now
all the usual things
has been called an anti-Semite, and everyone and his dog has been called an anti-Semite because they don't.
Well, they're getting to the boy who cried wolf part of that. They're getting to the boy who cried wolf part of that accusation.
Yeah. I mean, they only want certain people talking about U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East. And if you're not qualified, if you don't take a certain view, you're going to be called names. And this includes people like Tucker, right? I mean, because okay, it's my considered view that actually Israel is an American colony, and the American empire doesn't want Americans questioning why they're in it, spending so much money. Because maybe they don't want Americans saying, "Well, we don't need all that oil. We can, get our own." But then, the ones who want to maintain the global hegemony of America will, need to be in Israel to control international shipping and project power in the Middle East, and also, as I was saying earlier, have the prestige of administering Israel, which is, not any kind of colony like Australia or Canada or New Zealand. It's a holy land.
I've never particularly cared about the Holy Land personally. I've never particularly cared about the Holy Land personally.
Well, but probably because you're not, that religious. But I mean, for
I
people who
suppose not.
take the religion seriously, they're always going to, fight over it. And I guess, before the Americans had it, it was a British, and I don't know if you sing, hymns like Jerusalem in Australia. Yeah, you do.
I have actually
It's an
once.
imperial hymn. It's an
It is.
imperial hymn.
Well, it's Blake. It's Blake, is it not?
Yeah, I apparently Blake wasn't into all that imperialism, but if
No, I
you
wouldn't say so.
sing his words in a certain way, it can sound like an imperial hymn.
Indeed. I just thought the distinction would be interesting to make between the Blake and the imperial hymn. It's funny you mentioned that. If I may bring her up, I was showing the lady we were speaking with earlier a little bit of the Passion Chorale. Are you familiar with the Bach work there, the Matthew Passion?
Yeah. Shall I put the link in? I mean, she knows how to come back if that's what she wants. Is that what you're saying?
No. I was just mentioning that we were talking about that. We were talking about hymns and things like that, and I was just interested in sorry, I was just acknowledging, but the thing is, with music, because we were talking about harmony quite a while ago. And to bring it back to that, and again, I wanted to talk about solutions before we finished. And harmony is, in a way, sort of my big woolly idea solution, but let's make it a bit more concrete. Harmony is what I believe in, not equality. And that's when matters of race, matters of gender, all of it. Equality is not real, especially if you take it as a mathematical thing, with saying sameness. Sameness is not real. Sameness is not desirable. What are we even talking about? Anyway. Coming to the matter of harmony, how do we implement it? So harmony is sort of a wonderfully flexible concept, the way that I'm talking about it right now. Rules often come into harmony in certain interpretations of harmony. But I want to say, how do we harmonize, or if you will, rulify the harmony? Give it simple, concrete ideas as our great grand solution for the political situation we find ourselves in. I want your ideas, and then I'll give you mine.
Yes.
Oh, are you prepared to go, or should I go?
Yes, please. I'm saying do carry on.
Oh, okay. Yes, sorry. So one of my ambitious political formulas is as follows, and it ties in very nicely with your one-party theocracy. It's almost the same idea. You have a 4-tier political formula. Okay? The very top tier, it's not exactly God, although it's not God. It's the grand traditions, beliefs, values, culture, spirituality, and God, and the deep rules, the deep ideas. You could formalize it into something like a constitution, but that wouldn't be enough, not by a long shot. You would be considering this the grand overarching encapsulation, the soul of the society. Yes?
Mhm.
And that is the most important thing. That is tier 1. That is the top. That is the encompasser. Second, finished, and I am back. Sorry, am I back?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. So I'll just continue. Secondly,
do.
you have a leader, a clear leader, like a king, but it doesn't have to be a whole hereditary monarchy thing. I think actually the guiding principle of who is king and why is the most worthy for whatever reason. It could even be an elected or partially elected matter. Although I would say that the people must be overwhelmingly concerned with a deeper kind of merit seeking than the rubbish of modern democracy. Okay. I haven't fully designed the second tier and how it's chosen. In a way, the society just needs to find a way of arriving at it. It's not a clear-cut matter. And historically, kings were like this. Kings were, sometimes they were conquerors, sometimes they were usurpers, sometimes they were hereditary, sometimes good hereditary, sometimes bad hereditary. You've got your British element, so I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about here. So the king serves a purpose, a personal focus of the nation. It is his or her, if you will. It's a monarchy, so it has, in a way, it goes beyond the single person. It encompasses a wife or whatever you would like. But you have the family, you have the focus, you have, for example, a political function that is very important is calling out a conspiracy publicly for the people to know about. A conspiracy of the nobles, a conspiracy of the elites. That's one theory. Calling out corruption, being a steward and a stalwart defender, a true noble leader. Just go there. Be idealistic about it. Are you at all familiar with the person Apostolic Majesty?
Yes. He will be at the Witten conference in August.
Fascinating. Well, I won't be able to attend, I think, but I find him a very interesting figure to follow, even if the output of the man is beyond me to consume all of it. But he made one very interesting video about why he is an ultra royalist. He used the term very importantly. He's more about the ultra than the royalist. It's less about the figure of the king specifically and the idea of the thing above and beyond it. Yes? And the importance of the reaching for the divine and the true personalization of things. Let me contrast this whole king notion with the complete opposite. Would you want to be ruled by an AI?
Well, I suppose you could say that the AI was designed originally by a human, and if it can do its job, which, for the sake of argument, we think it is possible to do, then I guess it is not a problem. But I think most people will have a problem with it, because they'll say, oh, it'll not malfunction and it won't understand us and blah, blah, blah.
Well, there are immense levels of problem with being ruled by an AI, not the least of which is it is an impersonal thing. In fact, you would prefer something like speaking of Asimov, by the way. We're tying it all together. You could have a leadership that was a wonderful human individual and a AI working in partnership. Do you see that?
Yes, I think ultimately humans have the power to pull the plug on the AI.
I see what you're saying. I kind of agree. There are scenarios that go differently, but I kind of agree. Let's take a step down. Let's not obsess too much about the second tier. The second tier, you're king, you're whatever, your leader, whatever. The second tier is, I jokingly call it the Starship Troopers layer. It is the service guarantees citizenship. It is the meritorious aristocracy and bureaucracy and worthy aspects of government, and it would even include everything from architecture and art, the celebration of festivals, and hopefully as society is growing and improving, it becomes more about positive projects than difficult duties, but difficult duties are part of it, and so it should be up until whatever point. And this layer, this third layer, is like privileges according to merit, powers according to merit. There are arrangements, there are honors, there are rising, there are falling. But it provides something to actually aspire to. If you're a citizen of this society, you want to be aspiring to something, don't you? I think of it in those terms, amongst others. Sorry?
I think we all want to be better than we are currently. We want.
Yes, indeed. And everything from knightly orders to great artists and other things, all kinds. Dutiful garbage men, whatever. It's all the same to me. It's all different forms of merit in one way or another. But in that layer, you have so much possibility. And again, it gives a something that isn't just basic citizenship, right? And in terms of the fourth layer, the basic citizenship, there should be plenty of rights and protections and fairness granted to people who just want basic citizenship. That's fine. And that is the fourth layer. But one of the most important things about the fourth layer is the fourth layer can appeal to the top tier. That is the ideas, the culture, the quasi-constitution, the rules, all of it, the law, the deep law, as what it can use. In theory, the fourth layer can overrule the second layer, that being the royal layer, the kingly layer, the whatever you want to call it layer. The fourth can overrule the second by appealing to the first. That is, another way of thinking about that is God has the final word.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's the mandate of heaven thing that I was discussing with Dot earlier.
Yes. That is kind of my weird take on the political formula. And you may notice it's not a million miles away from one-party theocracy, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we want, I call God the hypothetical supreme authority. And I'm saying, if you believe in God, of course, he is the supreme authority of the universe. But if you don't believe in God, you could still call him the hypothetical supreme authority, because it's actually...
You can at least imagine what that could be.
Well, I don't think you even need to do that, because I think we reach out to God unconsciously when we talk about, in the best of all possible worlds, best case scenario, in an ideal world, I think we are sort of saying, if everything were working as it should be, working properly with the right people in charge, following the right rules, then this thing that you want could happen. But sadly, we don't. So, suck it up, peasant, or something like that,
Well, it will take a time of great turmoil to reach not necessarily my formula, but some sort of outcome.
Yes, so we have to first theorize before we implement or
Absolutely.
take action. And that this is what all we're doing. We're saying, well, what is a problem? What could be the solution? And that's all we're doing. And it is sad to see how very little of that is being done, and how much neurosis there is in discourse, even amongst people who will never meet each other online, who are behind anonymous avatars. I think a lot of people are too afraid of saying what they think, even when it's actually legal.
The great lack of sincerity.
Yeah. Yes, and I suppose some of us, we just have this compulsion to say what we are thinking, because otherwise it will just stay in and poison us. If we don't excrete it in some way, perhaps. Sometimes I think that's all it is. We just need to get it out. Better out than in, as they say.
Yes.
Get it
Now,
off the chest.
Speaking of solutions, and let's be less highfalutin and more concrete, I am a huge, huge believer in the power of truth and honesty. And I would say that I run across, say, in Bridges of Meaning, the politics dumpster fire, And they're discussing such and such news story and this and that stat and this or that bit of economic news. And it's all very bits and pieces and stuff you'll never have anything to do with, guys. Sorry. But the thing that you can do in your life, in any life, anyone listening, and you and I both, is take the honesty as far as you can, come what may.
Well, yes, because you can always walk back on it. I made a mistake.
too.
I misspoke.
That as well.
I renounced my, previous opinion.
Yes.
I don't think why people should be just tarred with the same brush, whatever. But that I think is what the powers that be, to frighten us into not discussing certain subjects or arguing the point.
The horrible lack of forgiveness in the left, and their forgiveness is always, it is never hopeful, it is always exacting. Do you know what I mean by that?
But the Abrahamic God gives us the option of redemption, as in the story of Jonah.
I don't know the Jonah one well. All I know is that there's a whale involved at some point.
Well, I mean, the idea is that the Ninevites were far gone and Jonah hated them.
Yes.
And God told him to go to them, and he said, no, I don't like them. They don't deserve to be saved. I'm going the other way. And then God, caused a storm, and then Jonah realized that, God was out to get him, and he didn't want the lives of the other passengers on the ship to be endangered, so he obligingly jumped off. And a whale swallowed him and vomited him out on the shores of Nineveh. And apparently his thing was everybody listens to him. He just has to say the word, and because he was so persuasive, the king and his subjects grovelled on the ground in sackcloth and ashes, and they were saved, even though, they were pretty far gone. And I think this should be part of the narrative, because only yesterday was I talking about. Okay, I have a idea of lists and register. So I was thinking I have a lot, register of race, register of religions, a register of marriages and births, and also of repentant unmarried parents or and unrepentant married parents. And I thought, I'll have a register of penitents. And and everybody just sort of, the person with the smallest number is the most high status penitent.
So penitence is less about. Sorry, if I may. Yes.
Please carry on.
Thank you. Penitence, in my opinion, is less about the suffering and punishment itself, which is more of a tool than to reach the genuine core of turning within. And you can actually go through the mercy process, perhaps rather quickly, although intensely, by just turning truly, very quickly within. Truly within.
The U-turn.
The U-turn. Perhaps we could call it that.
Yeah, I think that's what it should be called.
Yeah. The turning away, the turning back.
Yeah.
Of course. Again, I have my unfinished business in terms of things to turn away from. I know that. I'm an odd duck. I can sense things before they are to be realized. Shall we say that? Especially concerning myself. I'm horribly self-centered. That's one of the things that I need to do something about. Not self-centered in the terms of lacking in generosity or lacking in interest in others, but very insistent upon my own role. Perhaps you've noticed this. I don't know.
I think you're, very personable and socially aware, and
Thank you.
That's to be recommended, to be admired, and to be acknowledged.
Thank you. Well, that's just turned into a compliment, so I'll take that one on the chin. It was a funny thing. A wiser man than I, an older and wiser man than I, let's say that, once told me, when it comes to compliments, accept them graciously, and thank them sincerely. It doesn't have to be a quick exchange, it doesn't have to be a long exchange. In fact, the awkward wannabe humility stuff, you're just saying that, you're flattering me, like all that sort of nonsense. I just thank people now. I just say thank you. Thank you, and I mean it.
Yes.
And it's a good way of
Yes.
handling it. It was a great piece of wisdom that he gave me. Something very practical, but also deep. Because you waste people's time for one. if you do all the prevarication stuff for 5 minutes,
Well, yeah, because you're waiting for the compliment to be offered again, right?
or
Because
something like that,
with your false modesty,
or the
yes,
modesty is in fact you expressing your own difficulties with yourself, where in fact they want to help you. They want to give you something good, and you're pushing it away. Yes.
yes.
Gentlemen are only rude on purpose. True gentlemen. And it's better to be wonderfully polite as much as possible. I like this personally. And I feel I will one day visit Britain. I have business there at some point. But
Oh, yes, and you must come to Speaker's Corner.
I would love Speaker's Corner. I would enjoy that very much. No, that's a British tradition that interests me. We have nothing like it in Australia that I can think of in terms of Speaker's Corner. Australia is a nation that truly needs to wake up to its potential. And though I might advocate something like Australian independence, including from Britain, no offense, but
Oh, no, I actually promote it. I'm a Republican. I don't know if you watched The Crown, the Netflix series.
no, I haven't. But please go on.
I think you'll enjoy it.
I
But
might.
anyway, there's a great one with Bob Hawke and the Australian referendum, which I think you will enjoy enormously. But it
Perhaps.
didn't end well for the Republicans, but it's still worth watching.
Well, John Howard famously, and he was a prime minister for quite a while here, John Howard famously ruined the Republican referendum by making the matter of what would replace the current system feel all yucky, shall we say, just to put it simply. But Republicanism is eventually, or rather, independence from the British and the Americans and the Chinese and the globalists, and that would be my platform, is coming. I feel it.
Well, yes, because when you think of, the British monarchy is enormously useful to the American Empire because it allows Britain to hand over the resources, human and material, of Canada, Australia, New Zealand to the Americans. You are an enormous human resource.
Yes. Yes. No, Australia is, as maybe you've picked up on this. I don't know how much you know about us. We are rather bitter and very tragic when it comes to our military history of being used by others.
Gallipoli.
Exactly. And more, of course. We have almost never fought for ourselves. It now occurs to me, we kind of fought for ourselves a little bit trying to fend off the Japanese at one point. But we kind of feel as if we've never fought for ourselves, truly. In fact, the whole Japanese fight back was complicated by the British trying to rearrange our forces for their interests as opposed to ours. So there was even an element of that then.
Well, I keep... Maybe I do offend Australians, but I'm saying you're really still British because you still have a Governor General, and that's a colonial post. And look at what happened to your elected Prime Minister in 1975.
Whitlam, you're referring to?
Yes, he was dismissed by the Governor General, answering only to the monarch. That's what it still is.
That was a complicated
You don't have
situation.
a Supreme Court; you only have a High Court.
Yeah. So the Australian lack of full maturity as a nation is both in the personality of the very people as well as in the institutions themselves. I would like to help move things in a better direction. Because in a funny kind of way, I can appeal to the people who are immature in my own funny ways, but I can also start to get them taking things seriously. Because I think we have a lot of potential as a nation that is as yet untapped.
And I'd just like to mention that the 4 rightly guided caliphs, they were not kings. So the Sunni Muslims talk about their 4 rightly guided caliphs, and they were only rightly guided because they were not kings, and all the other ones after them were absolute monarchs. That is objectionable, for those reasons, because an absolute monarch has a right to sign your death warrant, and
Yes, no, not
without the right of habeas corpus.
so. Monarchy, to my mind, never appealed to me at all for a very long time, and it blindsided me completely in a spiritual experience that I had. I was like, what is this? And why am I being told about this? And perhaps I have misunderstood some of what I was being told. But the thing is, it's not a finished concept yet. But it is one that requires, like, for example, being a monarch in many ways is about filling the chair rather than doing anything.
You're being a figurehead. I mean, if you're a constitutional monarch, because when you think of King Charles, he doesn't even have his First Amendment rights. He can't have a different religion to Anglicanism without being forced to abdicate, right? Because he's the supreme governor of the Church of England.
Yeah.
So he doesn't. He has fewer rights than the average American citizen. When you think
Well,
about
this is a matter of rights and responsibilities. Your rights are my responsibilities, is the famous Petersonian line.
Yes. But I mean, if you want to look at the last 250 years of Western history, it is the European moving away from absolute monarchy. With the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution. But what is interesting now is that the series, The Crown, was made with American money, because the BBC wouldn't dare, because, if you look at it, it's so, high production values, everything is so lovely to watch, yachts and elegant rooms and palaces and whatnot. And and then you ask yourself, why is America pushing a monarchy on the Iranians for control?
Yes, of course.
Gulf states, Gulf kingdoms, because they have absolute power, and they do occasionally sign the death warrants of their subjects.
Not a fan of any of that. In a way, perhaps you could say, even my political formula is temporary. And the leadership role, I feel, is still needed, but it's more about, what am I trying to say? A step along the path to something where who even needs monarchs anymore? That would be a good state of affairs, actually, wouldn't it? Hypothetically.
Well, I mean, if you read the Declaration of Independence, I mean, there's a whole list of reasons why, you don't want a monarch, because he...
Well, actually, I should be even broader and say, who needs leaders anymore? Let's put it that way.
Well,
that's quite utopian.
Your military to,
I'm talking about a very post-militaristic situation, of course.
Yes. But I think, we somehow, when there's a problem, it's like, well, we want to know who to go to with this problem,
And that's the simplicity of monarchy. You know who to go to. You know where the final word can be found.
Yes, and that is why even, atheists unconsciously reach out to God when they say, in the best of all possible worlds, in the best case scenario, if everything were working properly, we would get justice.
Yes. They create such incredible complex ideas that don't work. Have you noticed that about the left?
And they don't want to be challenged. That's why, everything they don't like is hate speech, which is their version of heresy and blasphemy.
Essentially, yes. I mean, it's remarkable what they've done in terms of creating a religion without spirituality at all. Something like that, anyway.
Well, yes. So one of the things that need to be considered is whether, secular political ideologies can take on the role of religion. And I think clearly, because I've spoken to Chinese people who kind of talk about socialism, Marxism, in the way liberals talk about. It's like liberalism, everything comes under us. The Catholic Church, all the other different religions, they come under the umbrella of liberalism. And the Chinese in China, anyway, will say, yeah, Marxism is great, and we tolerate religions, and there are all these religions in China, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, basically it's saying, and we Marxists or liberals, we set the boundaries of your religion because we are top dog, because, our ideology is the current political orthodoxy. And I think this must be the way to understand this hierarchy of ideologies and who is actually in charge. I don't think it's either Christians or, well, because I don't think it is the working ideology of Westerners, because most Westerners are not Christian.
Well,
Mostly
let
atheist.
us. No, I actually think you're kind of correct at this point. Australia, of course, is actually relatively low on religiosity. Now, there's an interesting other thing that, for some reason, I feel compelled to speak about, and this is in the solutions bucket, but not really. It's sort of, it's more in the problems bucket than the solutions bucket. But let's mention it. Where are you in terms of conspiratorial styles of thinking? Just throwing that out there.
Well, I was thinking to myself the other day that if you believe in God, then God is, the ultimate conspiracy theory.
Let's call that. They usually like to call that mystery, but I know what you're saying. I do.
Yes, I mean, I don't. I mean, people want to blame and complain about certain, groups that they don't like, but I think the enemy is always within. We got the wrong end of the stick, and actually, scapegoating is a Jewish idea, and it really hasn't helped them, because if you scapegoat someone, you don't solve the problem.
Indeed, that's rather funny. I like that. So scapegoating is a problem. Scapegoating is what the other side is usually accused of when it comes to that group. I just found that there's a lot of layers that you managed to accomplish in that line. I love it. But moving to the problem. Conspiracy was very much in the air around the COVID era here in Melbourne. And I maybe drank too deeply of that stuff. And yet I know there's something going on. Would you say so?
Well, I mean, with regard to COVID, it's like it's these evil big pharma, who and corrupt
Klaus Schwab and
Western
all of the rest
politicians
of it.
who are in the pocket of big pharma, who basically approved this and ruined so many businesses, so big business could just carry on while small businesses are ruined.
Oh, sorry. Yes, indeed. And yes, indeed.
And also, I really want to make the point that only a majority atheist people could have been scared by COVID, because if you think about Europeans and the Black Death and bubonic plague, it's like, well, why are you overreacting to the flu? Why are you doing that? And you basically ruined so many people's lives and destroyed so many businesses just because you're pretending to care.
I mean, the very theory of infectious diseases would state that any pandemic of this kind just has limits. Because of the nature, it's the dilemma of a virus. It's if you kill too well, you don't spread. If you spread too well, you better not kill. Kind of, you know what I mean about that tension, right?
Yeah, and the interesting thing was that it was a Chinese idea. It was called the Wuhan virus, and the Chinese did the equivalent of declaring lockdown on the 23rd, and it just happened on this year that the 25th was Chinese New Year, so it was kind of like the British declaring lockdown on the 23rd of December, and so I guess they were showing that they were taking it really seriously, and maybe they were, seeing if they could, make it work. And then everybody copycatted the whole thing. But I remember Boris Johnson at the time was putting on his funereal tone and saying, well, we have to get used to the idea that we may, lose a few loved ones because blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly the next day, oh, we have to do lockdown. We have to do lockdown.
They kept changing their minds in a remarkably. Sorry. Well, who's that? Did you hear that,
No,
Claire?
no, I
I heard a
didn't.
knocking, a very strange knocking. It sounded like someone knocking at a door or something.
I didn't hear anything.
I definitely heard it. Something strange happened on my end. Don't worry about it. Anyway, back to COVID. The crazy thing about COVID, man, was... Sorry, man. So I should say lady. The crazy thing about COVID here was the extreme crackdown. I don't know how much of it you would have seen of the Melbourne situation. Did you see any of it?
Well, I was talking to a Jewess who complained bitterly, and she also said, they all wanted to go to their synagogue, and there were the coppers waiting to see if too many Jews went into the synagogue, and then they swooped in on them, just to get them for breaking the COVID rule.
Oh, goodness. Something has fallen. I think my cats might be getting up to mischief. Just give me a moment here.
Okay.
What have you guys done? What is happening here? I'm trying to see if... You know what? I think everything's okay. It's just a very odd... I was just hearing knocking noises and something like that. It doesn't matter. We should probably wrap up soon, though, because I've started yawning and such stuff like that.
Yes, it must
And I
be
don't want
very
you to feel
late
that I'm
where
bored.
you are.
Sorry?
It must be very late where you are.
It is a bit. It's getting close to 1 a.m.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'm so happy that you came.
Oh, that's all right. I appreciate the offer. I had no idea what I was getting into. The impression I was given around those comments on the Paul Vandeclay video was, am I being invited by some Muslim extremist to have a very boring debate about how Islam is always right? That's absolutely not what I got at all. Oh my! No, this has been a great deal of fun, and I very much appreciate your feminine boldness with ideas. And I hope you find that a compliment.
Thank you so much, and I hope you will come again and that we can keep in touch and exchange further ideas.
I will say two things to that. Yes, and the second thing is, let us say if we have other guests, I am happy for the matter to be handled by you to your satisfaction. It may well be your channel that we stream on after all. And I understand. Let's leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time and your attention and your carefully chosen words and your sophistication. Your British aristocratic airs filled me with delight. And I'm lying slightly, but only for the purposes of fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care as well. All the best.
Bye.